Come on, everybody. Back again. Nice to see everybody. We've got our old friend Three Fingers. And yes, everybody, indeed, he lives up to his name. He has 3 fingers. Well, I guess 8 fingers if you want to be technical. But 3 on one hand. And it hasn't stopped him. He's that guy right there on the screen. 3 fingers. We have Special K from Chicago. All you need to do is hear her say like 3 words, and you know she's from Chicago. There's no mistaking it. That's right, everybody. You found your way back to Z Show. Climb aboard. Some familiar faces, some new faces. Kimmy's Playhouse here. What kind of playhouse are we talking about there, Kimmy? It makes me wonder. Maybe it's just me. Apparently, we're finding out more and more each day that apparently maybe some people are right about what they say about me. That I really just objectify women. I'm kind of like a misogynistic pig. I mean, they're not my words. They're other people's words, but hey, who am I? Generally, I don't think people are really too adept at categorizing themselves. You know, I mean, what more bias could one have other than, their view of themselves? So who am I? Maybe all you ladies were right. Like Heidi, she's laughing. Heidi's leading the charge. I think she started a Facebook page called Z's a Misogynist. Check it out, everybody. I'll link it up later in the show. Our new friend Lindsay's the newest member, apparently. Much love, everybody. We got a fun show ahead of us, as always. Come on now. How's everybody doing? Everybody staying balanced, staying hydrated, staying warm? I mean, let's think about it. I mean, before we all come here, before we're able to engage this technology and this media, before we're able to gather here in solidarity, we need certain base needs There's certain base human functions that need to be fulfilled. You have to be fed. You have to have shelter. Hell, you probably need some people in your life. You can't do it on your own. Even our friend Hardhat here, this guy. I mean, yeah, he lives in a truck. But so what? That's shelter. And he doesn't look like he's in need of food. And apparently he has a new friend. A new puppy. So much love. Hardhat has it covered. Apparently he's got internet connection somehow. Much love. But sometimes I think it's easy to overlook the necessities in life. There's something about us where we seem to take these things for granted. And it's only when we lose these things or when they become unavailable do we notice, how important they are. I mean, hell, remember in 2020 when all of a sudden, like, toilet paper became hard to come by? What was that all about? Of all things, toilet paper. That's what everybody freaked out about. That's got to tell us something about the human condition, that when people bum rushed the grocery stores in panic over the so-called pandemic, they left the rice, they left the beans, but went right after the toilet paper. It's got to say something about people. And the real question is, we know that there was a shortage of toilet papers, but what about wipies? In this day and age, wipies may be considered a necessity along with toilet paper. Flushable, preferably. Who's with me? I find toilet paper is basically not up to the challenge, not by itself. Toilet paper to me is only stage 1 of the wiping process. If you're still flying with toilet paper alone, you might want to reevaluate that whole process. I'm just saying. Hardhat has it. He said wet wipes. Yeah, Hardhat, but unlike you, I'm just using the wet wipes, to take care of business down there. You seem to be using the wet wipes in lieu of a actual, shower. So we may be on in two different worlds there, Hardhat. SC says, I buy dry wipes that I put under the tap to moisten. Good job. That's thinking. I don't know how people got along without the wipes. It was probably fine. Here's how I kind of here's how I imagine it was. People just kind of were okay doing their business, like by a river, and they would do their thing. They'd have the water there, and they're probably very sanitary. Somewhere along the way, people just said, oh, well, you just got to use paper. I guess in the old days it was a newspaper or whatever. And then what? They just left the water out? Just another example of the another example of the regression of human so-called civilization. I've been trying to impart this to people. Everybody just thinks that we've progressed over time. We're all just taught, oh, we're progressing. Like ancient man was just an idiot. No. Evidence shows quite the contrary. We're regressing. And look no further than people's bathroom habits. So, if I ever find myself in a debate about evolution, I need to remember this topic about the wiping habits of man and how it likely has degenerated over time. Hey, I don't even know if the original humans around here even had to use the potties. Have you ever seen this? These old buildings, these castles and stuff that still remain? these huge Gilded Age buildings that we see. Where is the bathrooms? They were able to build like these multi-story beautiful structures with ornate fixtures, with elegant artesian design. But nobody thought to like put a bathroom in there. So they were able to build like, I don't know, domes and really intricate arches, but no toilets. I don't know. What am I even talking about? Angela thinks they're a vegan and they use their poop as fertilizer. Who knows? Who knows? SC says the beaches in India are littered with human feces. Well, at least there's water involved there somehow. I'm not saying we all have to be like, like India, pollute the river Ganges, but maybe there's a middle ground where people just aren't walking around with smelly bottoms. God, don't even get me started with the whole hygiene situation going on with people. Let's not even go there. It's too much. But either way, greetings, everybody. Welcome back. We're all here for another day. We're all here for a new day. Why is Slow-Mo in the chat telling me I'm glitching? I don't seem like I am. You might want to just refresh your YouTube, homie. Yeah, maybe we'll get this thing going. We had a great show yesterday. We welcomed a number of people. We had Jesse Howe was here for quite a while on the show. He sat in on the news with me. If you missed that portion, I would recommend, if you have some time and you're so inclined, to go check that out. We had a nice little back and forth. And this isn't taking anything away from my other guests, but who else did we meet? Oh, we got to meet a Provo kid. Provo Planet, I guess he goes by now. Who lived up to my idea of him and his personality. I kind of had him pegged for like a kooky, kind of offbeat, unique type of dude. Turns out he is. Not sure if he's like engaged in one perpetual LARP, much like our friend Illumitami, or if like he's just really is like, the raging autist that he claims to be. Either way, hopefully we see him sometime soon. That was cool. Apparently he's Mormon. You don't meet a lot of Mormon people. Or maybe you do and they just, they're smart enough not to admit that they're actually fucking Mormon. Because once you do that, you're necessarily going to be engaged in like an hour's worth of questioning. And rightly so. Very strange religion. No doubt about that. It was fun stuff. It was good stuff. All right, let's get this show on the road, everybody. Let me prep my music back here. RT says Provo is hilarious with his troll, not troll persona. Yeah. I agree with that, RT. Let's get this thing started. I got some good stuff for us tonight, guys. I got some good segments planned. Smith W., you might want to hang around tonight. Although the whole show is not going to be a Smith W. show. I mean, come on, God forbid. But Smith W., you'll be featured tonight. Because I'm enthralled, entranced, and maybe entrapped in some kind of insanity with your with your new video. We may do a breakdown of the Smith W's newest video. We may have to break it down. We need some kind of like mental exercise regarding the Smith W video. Maybe a mental exorcism. I'm not sure. Either way, we're going to take a look at it. So, are you here, Smith? I think I saw you here. Yeah, he's here. There he is. Much love, Smith. Yeah. It's all right. Don't worry, Hard Hat. You'll see it tonight here in Z Show. We're going to do the full breakdown of the latest Smith W video and much more. There's much more coming. I got some good stuff for us tonight. I was going to put my Cash App up, but I didn't want to start the show late again because everybody gets mad at me if I'm like 5 minutes late. God forbid. Heidi starts to have a panic attack. Cynthia like rages out on me, and I don't know. People start to rage quit. Maybe I'll pop that in later. Let's get this fucking show going. There we are. Hola, people. Good day, good day. Official opening commencing now. Come on, everybody. That's right, Arpole. That music lets you know it's time to get going. Good evening, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Z Show. That's right, you found your way to the end of the rainbow, the bottom of the rabbit hole, and we are broadcasting live and in living color around the level horizontal realm. That's right, the realm called Earth. And we're not only broadcasting to the 7 known continents, but all those weird continents that are apparently on the outer realm. The ones that David Weiss vacations at. And Santos Bonacci. Apparently they're friends. Dave, Santos, hit your buddy Z up. Come on. I want to get out there too. I want to go visit the land of the Anunnaki, Lemuria, the land of Mu. I want to see what's going on out there in the Iron Republic, Dave. Get me a fucking ticket out there. Apparently you have a timeshare. Either way, we're going to have fun tonight, everybody. Strap on in. You never know what you're going to find here at Z Show, but it's always a good time. Yeah, coming at you. Who needs the Doc Severinsen band when you have the internet? Much love. That's right, SC. That's an intro. Take notes, everybody. Take notes. Who's here? Queen of Swords. Coming in. Thank you, Queen of Swords. Hit the like button. Help Z out in the algorithm. You know they're not helping me. Much love, Queen of Swords. Good to see you. Smith W again. Hola. SC in the house. Dominic Tersini. Much love, Dominic. Good to see you, sir. As always. Special K, our favorite Chicagoan. Much love. RT coming at you. Divine Spark 313. Heidi. Hard Hat. Much love. Nooba. The Aussie guy in the house, Angela Baby Carson, much love. Morgan, Isabella Live 2.0, as always. Our favorite Marine, Rocky Shepard, said rage against the machine. And he's done that. Rocky Shepard has raged against the machine. Much love, Rocky. Capricorny, much love. Our Pole in the house. Who else? Lovely people. I go backwards in the chat, so if you checked in early, I miss you, which is probably wrong of me. I should go the other way. But who knows? Either way. Much love, everybody. Marky Rizzo, good to see you. Seen that name around. No longer on the ball. That's right. Guess what? We never were. The only ball you were ever on was one in your mind. We'll get into some of that tonight. Much love, all you flirfs out there, all you fellow flirfs coming at you. Sarah Breslin. Apparently she watches the show with her hubby. Much love, Sarah. Way to go. Slow-mo in the house. Patrick 369. Good numbers. The key to the universe right there. Big Drink Tea coming at you, and so many more. Truth Spirit. What did you say? Flat was a symbol of a collapsing dollar. Oh, fiat. Much love. All right, everybody. Let's get into it. I got some good stuff for you. Why don't we do this? Let me just play a quick song. Don't go anywhere. We're going to make the song quick. And I got some stuff in the can for us. We're going to get started on the journey that is Z Show. Because we are gathered here this evening to celebrate a thing called life, everybody. That's right. Life on life's terms, not on the terms that we want it to be. Can we just face life on its own terms? Do we need like stories and made up bullshit to make us feel good? Why does everything like need an answer? Why do we need answers all the time? We shouldn't need answers all the time. Either way, I'm going to play a quick song here, and we'll be back with more Z Show. Let me cue it up. No, not you, Dr. Kelly Brogan. Not you. We'll get to you another time. Yes, I am fat. Did anybody go check out our friend Dr. Kelly Brogan? And I loved how you Transpocalypse people had to point out that she has bro in her last name, and that somehow means something. Anyway, don't go anywhere. More Z Show in a moment. All right, Lucky, take it away. Serenade the people, good sir.
Excuse me. Say that again, well, I saw her through the window today. She was sitting at Silver Spoon Cafe, and I started to keep going, but something made me stop. She used to love me a lot. She looked lonely, and I knew the cure. Those old memories would win her heart for sure. Well, I thought that I'd go in there and I'd give it my best shot. She used to love me a lot. She used to love me with a love that wouldn't die. Looking at her now, I'm not sure why I said goodbye. It would only take a moment to turn back the clock. She used to love me a lot. I sat down beside her and she smiled. She said, where you been? Hey, it's been a while. And she looked so glad to see me that I could read her thoughts. She used to love me a lot. So I reminded her how good it was back then. I told her that we could start again. Let's just spend the night together and take up where we left off. She used to love me a lot.
Come on, everybody.
Yeah, she used to love me with a love that never died. But looking at her now, I'm not sure why I said goodbye. It would only take a minute to turn back the clock. She used to love me a lot. Well, I panicked as she turned and walked away. As she hit the door, yes, I heard her say,
come on, everybody.
yeah,
Lucky
I've been
Haskins.
needing something, but it's something you ain't got. But I used to love you a lot. Yeah, I used to love you a lot. She used to love me a lot.
There it is. A man and his guitar. That's all you need, Lucky. Just need that guitar. You need some of those wobble pops that you're so interested in. You need maybe a few rolled up J's and a Flat Earth Lodge. That's Lucky Haskins, everybody. Give him a sub. You can find him at Lucky Haskins on YouTube. Give him a sub. He's a flat Earth lodge, everybody. I mean, it's a lodge, and he's a flat earther, so it's a flat Earth lodge. Get it? That's our boy Lucky. I want to go back to what Nuba said, because we were talking about our friend of the show, Dr. Kelly Bro Gun. And Nuba basically said, if Dr. Kelly's a dude, he's basically going to end himself. Nuba, I think that makes two of us. But I'll up the game, Nuba. I'm just going to put it, if Dr. Kelly's a dude, I don't care that, like, hot chicks like her are dudes. Like, if that's... I'm okay with it, I think. It's the same with that, the chick that plays Wonder Woman. What's her name? The Israeli chick that plays Wonder Woman. Anyway. Same level there, Nuba. If that chick's a dude, I'm okay with it. It's fine with me. I'll just go with it at that point. Because I don't need to know anything else after that. I just don't. I'm just saying. But I imagine Nuba's quite smitten with our friend Dr. Kelly. We'll revisit her in the future. How could we not? But yeah, I mean, a fair portion of the audience is completely convinced that most women that they see across their screens, whether it's TV, the internet, or otherwise, are dudes. I don't know. I've said it before. That's probably the level of my cog dis. Like, I was able to, like, incorporate new information when it came to, like, finding out you don't live on a spinning globe. I was okay with that. I was able to understand, when I found out that there's really no governments, that were just being run from the top down by, like, a new world order, which is an old world. I was okay with that. I was okay with finding out that the religion I was born into of Catholicism, basically just kind of like, I don't know, like Satan's church on earth. I was okay with that. But when you start coming at me with like Taylor Swift, Gal Gadot, and Dr. Kelly are trans dudes, that's something I can't accept. I can't. I'm just saying. Yeah, like Angela said, transvestigating. That's maybe not a road you want to go down. It might be the toughest road to go down. Okay, if you want to talk about like Eleanor Roosevelt and all those weird wives of like the Rothschilds and shit and the Rockefellers, and okay, I can go down those. If you want to go down the lines of that, okay, we can talk. But not Taylor Swift. Don't take away my Taylor Swift. I'm not a fan of her music at all, but good Lord. If she's a dude, I probably don't know what to do with the rest of my life. Yeah, like you say, Brooke Shields. No way. I mean, maybe like they cloned her, and I don't want to get in trouble, but the Brooke Shields of like Blue Lagoon, Rocky Shepard remembers Blue Lagoon. He's a Christian, but I'm sure he probably remembers Blue Lagoon. I do. That Brooke Shields, no way she was a dude. I'm sorry. Not happening. Just not happening. Just not going with it. So we're on the same page, Nuba. You and I, in solidarity. Nuba and I are typically in solidarity on most things. Same thing with RT. Except RT's still part of the Voiniverse, apparently. Yours truly is not very welcome around the Voiniverse. But other than that aspect, RT and I tend to resonate on many things, which is interesting. I don't know what that says about me or him. Come on, RT, give me a couple insults just to level the playing field. That way I feel more comfortable. Yeah, he agrees. Much love, everybody. Much love to all the trannies out there. Hey, at Z Show, we accept all the colors of the inverted rainbow. We know that here. We don't discriminate. How could we? There's too many friends of the show that are obviously part of the LGBTQIA XYZ community. There's too many, obviously. Where to begin? One, Illumitami. He's obviously a member of that community. Tommy, you're more rainbow than fucking the covenant between Noah and the God of the Old Testament. All right. Obviously, our friend Nathan, we love you, Nathan. So don't let anybody speak a bad word about Nathan Sanders in front of me. They'll have a problem on their hands. So many others. So many others. I don't want to embarrass people. I don't want to out people right on here, but we are accepting here. All right. So not everybody likes that. All right. Like I know our friend Rocky, he's super Christian. Rocky's not really, down with the whole inverted rainbow community. He's not rolling with it. It's okay, Rock. I love you anyway. That's your issue that you have to get over, Rock. I'm not saying you have to go out and blow a guy, but you could just kind of be accepting of people. People are so dogmatic. How about that Snafu Snaps yesterday? Anybody see him? Snap, I love you, Snaps, but you were coming with just some straight religious dogma, dude. What's with that, man? People think New Age is there's no New Age. I don't want to get into it. It's too much. Let me get into the segments I have here. I have good stuff for you guys today. I want to get into this. Indulge me. Settle in a little bit. Trust me, guys, there's plenty of time for the insanity to ensue. As soon as I drop that link in, we know what's going to happen. So sometimes the anticipation's a little bit better. Steve said Jax is a shit show. Thank God we have Z. No, we love Jack. My feeling on it, Steve, is that Jack and I have divergent audiences. Let's face it, Steve, I'm a flat earther. All right. Even though I don't just come on here and just hammer people over the head with flat earth facts, but that's going to put me in a different category. Jack wants to go to the UN, end all wars and government secrets. I don't even believe in governments. I think the UN is just I don't know, the ultimate elite fallen archonic control matrix structure. And he wants to go there and talk to him. So Jack's going to do his thing. I'm going to do my thing. We'll talk sometimes. I love Jack, but yeah, I know. I got it, Steve. Crazy. Steve, they could all have it, dude. Let them have it. That's their world. We're doing other stuff over here. We're doing other stuff, bro. Where was I? Let me get into this shit. I got a couple things I want to get into. The first thing I want to get into is, speaking of the UN. So you guys know how I am. I don't just like to talk the talk. I like to walk the walk on Z Show, all right? If one thing I'm not truth or light, all right? I'm probably on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm probably obsessed with information of the esoteric type. So lately I've been getting into, let's just say a number of things, but one of those is the lineage of the controlling elite structure of this world. I was sitting around one day, I'm saying, okay, so I look at, let's say, these monarchies, these royals. I look at the European monarchy. And first I found that there was certain connections. There was certain synchronicity amongst their lineage. Apparently, pre-World War I, Europe was each supposedly independent nation or independent country were basically being ruled by the same elite bloodline families. So I said, okay, you're going to like this, Rocky. Rocky, this next segment's right up your alley, Rock. If you dig it, come up and talk to me about it later. But so I said, where do these families come from? And guess Rocky, not to your surprise, they all come back to bloodlines that were referenced in the Bible, very early in the Bible. So let's get into it. I don't want to, whatever that term I was just about to use is, put the cart before the horse, I guess. Let's get into this. Let me pull it up. Where am I? Where do these creepos come from? Let's just jump into it. This segment's going to be called The Black Nobility. Prepare to get your minds blown, everyone.
So there's this weird story of Noah after the ark and his son Ham, quote, seeing his nakedness while Noah was passed out drunk on wine. This earns a curse from Noah, and it's kind of like, well, he saw him naked. What's the big deal? So people have speculated there might have been more to it. But he doesn't curse Ham, his son who saw him naked. He curses his grandson, Canaan. Officially, nobody knows.
All right, so let's start there. His grandson, Canaan. See, a lot of people get this confused because when they hear about the Canaanites, Rocky, I know Rocky's getting excited here. Rocky's on the edge of his seat. People think about Cain and Abel, right? That's the Cain that they think of. But that's not the Canaanites that is being referenced in history. It's as this gentleman said, the line of the Canaanites goes back to Noah's son Ham. The son Ham, have you ever heard about the curse of Ham? Apparently Ham did this thing after the flood and he pissed Noah off, and Noah placed a curse on his lineage. Thus the Canaanites, right? So who knows what he did? Are these things metaphorical, allegorical? I used to think that. Between me, you, and the wall here, I'm thinking these things are less metaphorical and more literal as time goes on. As I've gone through my journey and I've discovered that the presentation of evolution, the presentation of, scientism and history really comes down to a bunch of farcical illusions. I'm looking at these stories as more literal. So apparently we have the line of Canaan. Let's continue.
Nobody knows why. But Noah had two other sons, Japheth and Shem. And this is what Mullins writes about all this. In order to understand why the name of Shem was systematically reviled and concealed throughout the records of history, we must return the record to his thoroughly degenerate and evil nephew, Canaan. Canaan was so wicked his last will and testament to his children was a formula for vice. It read, love one another, that is, of this tribe only, love robbery, love lewdness, loathe your masters, and do not speak truth. This, Mullins says, comes from the Babylonian Holy Book. And basically that all things good come from Shem, all things bad come from Canaan.
All right, so look what it has here. You have to remember now. So let's go with the biblical flood story. Noah and his family were like the only survivors. Now, there's some contradictory information throughout the Bible regarding that, but let's just follow the story. So you had Japheth, Ham, and Shem. Notice that the line of Abraham and Sarah basically come right from Shem. So the line that we associate with the Israelites comes from the son of Noah named Shem. But it's this other son, Ham, that we see the Canaanites. And as this gentleman just described, they're typically giving attributes much like the attributes we find when we examine the rituals and practices of these elite families. These dastardly, base, bacchanalian, deplorable type of behaviors. Apparently, this is coming from Ham and particularly his son Canaan. Everybody caught up? You spitballers in the back of the classroom? You caught up? All right, let's continue. See, this is where I wish some of the doctrine Bible believers would actually pay attention, because they'll come in here and they'll tell me, about the Bible, not understanding that I spend copious amounts of time actually studying the Bible, the lineages of the Bible, how they actually relate to today's world. But I do so in a way that's free of indoctrination, that's free of programming and orthodoxy. Most of y'all can't handle it. Most of y'all are going to tune out. But, you'll be here once, Snafu Snaps is up here, like calling people pedos. You guys like that. Anyway, let's continue.
Canaanites or Phoenicians employed their command of various monopolies to gain control of the commerce of the entire Mediterranean area. The most
All right, so he basically went on to say how the Canaanites became what we know today as the Phoenicians. All right, now the Phoenicians are regarded by history as a seafaring culture that was a pre-Grecian culture. All right, if you consider the Grecian culture to be in its peak around 500 BCE, the Phoenicians were historically around 500 to 1,000 years before that time. So somewhere around, let's say, 1000 BCE, you find the story of these Phoenicians. Okay, so he's basically making a link between this line of Canaan or the Canaanites and the Phoenicians. All right, so we're just going to cut to the chase here. He's then going to make a further link between the Phoenicians and the Venetians, which were separated by well over 1,000 years if you go by recorded history. Now, apparently, if you go by standard conventional history that they're going to give you in a textbook, they're going to tell you there's apparently no link between the BCE Phoenicians and the more recent pre-Renaissance Venetians, like the city of Venice, which to me strains credibility. And we're going to get more into it because we're even going to question here the 1,000-year difference. And many of you may be aware of this when we talk about the missing 1,000 years of the Dark Ages. Let's continue.
The most centrally located headquarters for all their operations was located on the Adriatic Sea. So here they founded the city of Venice, or Phoenicia. And I agree 100%. Officially, the Venetians of the Middle Ages aren't supposed to have anything to do with the ancient Phoenicians, even though all kinds.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees?
Kinds of words from different language are just off by one letter, trade a B for a T, V for an F. But the Phoenicians were the merchants that controlled all shipping and trade in the ancient days, known for their shipbuilders and sailing vessels. Then a couple thousand years go by, and the Venetian Navy is the premier navy of the Mediterranean. But no, they have nothing at all to do with each other. Okay. The Venetians were known as masters of intrigue. They aided the Turks in the conquest of Constantinople in 1453, which was where the ruling class fled to after the fall of Rome. And they say lived there for an uneventful 1,000 years. Keep getting these phantom 1,000 years.
Right. So the link here, again, we're trying to link the current ruling elite class, the royalty, the monarchy that we've seen up to this modern time, and these biblical Canaanites. All right, this is where we are. Let's continue.
Venice had now become the headquarters of a ruthless social climbing band of entrepreneurs who purchased titles for themselves or created them out of thin air, built splendid mansions, and collected the art treasures of Europe. They financed their new lifestyle with the enormous sums which they garnered from trade, piracy, and money lending. This group became known throughout Europe as the Black Nobility because
the Black Nobility. I want you all to remember that term. All right. Now they're called the Black Nobility because even during their time, they were known to be linked to the line of Canaan, the so-called Canaanites. What is it about this line of Canaan? What could it be? These blue bloods? Is there something different about them? Is it a genetic difference? Is it just merely culture? But for whatever reason, we find that this this ancient Phoenician culture apparently transformed some 2,000 years later, give or take, into the basically the precursor to the ruling Renaissance families. Okay, that's where you see this black nobility and the Venetians, like the city of Venice. All right, so what is the link? Now, some have proposed, as I mentioned earlier, that the time frame given here is not exactly correct. That's where many conjecture a missing 1,000 years. Now, that might be old information to some of you, but to others, you might be surprised to find out that there may have been a missing 1,000 years, or should I say 1,000 years that was added to our history. What was called the Dark Ages, which is basically from about 500 AD to 1500 AD, basically the fall of Rome to the birth of the Renaissance period, right? And would be considered the Dark Ages. But either way, the story that we're being presented with here is that this so-called New World Order actually goes back to very ancient biblical bloodlines, which some, including myself, conjecture are maybe not human as we understand it. All right. So if the Israelite line came from Shem and this Canaanite line came from his brother, what could the difference be there? Right? What could the difference be there? I wonder. It has been said, as was alluded to previously, that Noah cursed his son Ham because he saw his wife's nakedness. Some people conjecture that what that actually was a sexual interaction, and that when Noah was drunk in his drunkenness after the flood, that his son Ham actually committed incest with his own mother, Noah's wife. Could this line be bred of some ancient incestual genetic combination? Interesting questions. Let you know. What does Z know about the Bible? Let's continue.
But they rapidly spread northward, setting up businesses and banking establishments in the northern cities of Italy. They bought more titles and intermarried with impoverished families of the old nobility. It's easy to look up the family tree of the blue bloodlines of Europe, and this looks like a whole lot of people, but we're talking less than 100 people over the course of 400 years, and they have definitely fashioned the modern world according to their ancient oaths. In Florence, the preeminent family was the de Medicis, who used their wealth to establish an academia which foisted humanism on the world. The de Medici established Florence as the European center of the B nobility, also establishing close ties with the ruling families of England through the Savoy and Este families. Strangely,
all right, so as I said, now you have the presentation of the Renaissance period, right? Let's continue.
Heard about the amazing artwork and artists of the Renaissance, but this was a reinvention of society. Renaissance, and I know some will argue this, means a rebirth. Not talked about quite as much as the revolution of thought that was occurring. Not only did they control the Church of Rome, but they controlled the opposition, the humanist movement, through the Platonic Academy.
All right, so what he presented there was very interesting to me, going back to how controlled opposition works. So he's presenting a situation in which these elite rulers were basically running the church, the Roman Catholic Church, and the emerging humanistic movement of the Renaissance. So again, it's the classic problem, reaction, solution, controlled opposition, play both sides, control your enemy by basically co-opting their movement, etc., etc. Let's continue.
Official history records this as being the time of the Black D. I've done many videos showing how there was much more than just a bug going around at that time. But no matter how you cut it, 2/3 of the world exited life and whole cities were up for grabs. Enter the black nobility. Once you understand into the Dark Ages for 1,000 years, where they didn't write anything down, they didn't build any amazing structures, and to break their
So again, he's going back to the Dark Ages, you know. So one of the things I'd like you guys to take away from this presentation is that the so-called Dark Ages may have never existed. This took me a while to wrap my head around it, all right? This goes way deep. This goes into the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Many people think the 1,000-year reign of Christ has already happened and that we are exiting that now and moving into a new age, all right? This gets really deep, but just one of the takeaways would be the Dark Ages, the 1,000 years from 500 to 1500 AD, may have never existed, all right? Now, do I have evidence for this? Of course not. Does anybody? Probably not. But when you look through history and you look for evidence of those 1,000 years, things are very sparse, to say the least. Let's continue. We're almost done with this one.
He who controls international trade is at the top of the food chain. The Roman Navy controlled trade throughout the Mediterranean. They fell, and strangely enough, nobody reestablished these trade lines for 1,000 years or wrote any books or built any impressive structures. There's a saying that power abhors a vacuum, meaning if there's an empty space there at the top, somebody's going to fill it, but that didn't happen for 1,000 years. And then in the 1300s or so, the Venetians all of a sudden were excellent sailors and seamen, reestablished these trade routes. They colluded with their enemies, the Turks, to topple Constantinople because they wanted to topple the competition that was within their own ranks. Now, the Venetians only controlled trade in the Mediterranean, while the Turks to the east controlled all of the international trade between the east and the west. This is why they're still bitter rivals today. And there's one group you have all heard of that gained their wealth because they controlled the routes along the Silk Road.
And there's one group you all heard of because they controlled the routes on the Silk Road. Khazaria. And that's where our friends, the so-called Khazarian Mafia, comes in. That's right, I said it. Try to strike me for saying that, YouTube. There you have it, everybody. All right. The link between the biblical Canaanites, the current ruling elites, the so-called black nobility, how power is achieved and maintained through trade routes, all the way to the link of modern times to the powerful Khazarian culture and today's elite banking groups, okay? Nice little trip through history there. What else do I have for you guys? Yeah, Angela. Like you said, this may go over like 9 out of 10 people's heads, but they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. Here's one I wanted to get into. Where's this guy? Yeah. So a lot of people say to me,
it's Claudia.
No, Claudia, we don't need you. A lot of people say to me, they'll say, Z, you fell for the flat earth psyop, Z. Z, don't you know that flat earth came out 2016 and it's just a YouTube conspiracy, dummy? How dumb could you be to fall for something so silly as a flat earth? Well, the reality is the flat earth has always been an understanding of man forever. Ancient man wasn't dumb enough to think that they could live on an impossibility. They weren't dumb enough to think that they could live on something that goes against all laws of physics. Who would be? I wasn't there. Flat earthers were around since the mid 1800s, when this psychotic, demonic, bloodline elite ruling class started to perpetrate the globe lie. Flat earthers have always been around because it's just the reality that we live in. So I have for you a clip from 1980 from one Charles Johnson. Some of you might be aware of him. He was the initiator and founder of the Flat Earth Society. Now, some people are going to say, oh, Z, the Flat Earth Society, they're a psyop to make flat earthers look stupid. Well, says you. Says you. So I'm going to play you some clips from 1980 from Mr. Charles Johnson. I'll let him talk about it. The volume's a little low in this one, but bear with me, guys. This is you can imagine that the footage of Charles Johnson from 1980 is probably not, curated very well in the Smithsonian for high definition audio consumption. All right, so calm down, everybody. Let's play it.
Beyond the mountains, the flat land stretches to the horizon, and beyond the horizon, according to Charles Johnson, the land continues to be flat. As a matter of fact, Charles Johnson believes the whole world is flat. 30 minutes from Lancaster, just off Highway 14 in a remote corner of the desert, Charles Johnson set up his Flat Earth headquarters about 10 years ago. It's from here he keeps in touch with the rest of the world. A round map of the flat earth adorns the wall of the office where he and Mrs. Johnson, the only other staff member, spend...
Did you see the Gleason's map in the back? Same map that many of us will promote. Okay? Gleason's map of 1892. Let's continue.
endless hours spreading the gospel and the latest facts to fellow believers.
Our aim is to restore the world to sanity. The civilization is crumbling. It must come to pieces because we're based on a completely false premise. And I mean, Watergate, things like that are of no consequence, compared to this. Moses is a flat earther, by the way. He's one of the earliest writers for the Flat Earth Society. George Washington was a flat earther.
I like what he said there. He said things like Watergate are of no consequence because once you realize the magnitude of the deception that has been perpetrated on humanity, the silly games of politics just dissolve. They become nothing and of no consequence. That's why you don't see me engaging in that silly discourse. He said Moses was a flat earther. You have to remember the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah, are attributed to Moses. Moses apparently authored the first 5 books. Included in them is Genesis. Moses was a flat earther. He said George Washington was a flat earther. It's crazy to think otherwise. We've all just been indoctrinated in this inverted, goofy ideology. Let's continue.
He gets mail from, around the world, including some from institutions of higher learning.
Well, a PhD. Let's see, I'll have to answer his letter. He said he's so happy. He's always believed the Earth is flat, but he never knew where we were located. Thank goodness he's found us. We're living in the midst of a hoax. The space program, plus the hoax that the world is evolved to begin with. We estimate we have around 1,500 members, but all of them are not paid up. I was checking over one time. People asked me what kind of people belong to the Flat Earth Society. Well, I told them it's thinking classes. But as professions now, medical doctors, lawyers, are the judges. Our country is just loaded with.
He already said judges, lawyers, medical doctors, PhDs, etc., etc. Many of you might be surprised to know that the current Flat Earth community is comprised of many of the same types of people. intelligent people, rational people, logical people, spiritual people. Some things never change.
They're flat earthers, but they're closet believers.
Mr. Johnson, how can you prove to me that the world is flat?
It's the simplest and the easiest. It's like every great idea. It's so elementary, it's so simple that you can't understand it. I kicked myself. I was only 18 when I learned how to prove it. I said, my God, how was I so stupid that I couldn't have thought of it to begin with?
Prove to me that the world is flat.
There's no curvature. There's not an inch. There's not any. It's flat. Reality.
There's no curvature. It's really what it comes down to. Like he said, it's so simple. It's the lie that's complex, like any lie. Let's think about any lie that you or anybody else could ever tell. To hold up a lie is complex. It's hard. It's difficult. To maintain a lie takes a lot of energy, a lot of resources. The truth is simple, as it always is.
There's no way to fall off of the flat earth, but if the world were a ball, of course, you would fall.
Mr. Johnson feels that falling off a ball is proof enough the earth is flat. So I asked him about the celestial bodies which the eye and telescope can see are round.
We don't have to explain the stars. I mean, they're just little lights.
Little light bulbs?
They could very well be up in the dome of heaven.
What about the other planets?
The Earth is not a planet. Earth is the center of the universe.
The Earth is not a planet. The Earth is the center of the universe. 1980. 11 years after the supposed Apollo 11 mission to the moon. 11 years is not a long time. People aren't as dumb as many would like to portray them as. Man has an innate ability to think critically. Man has an instinct for logic and rational thought. You want to lie to people? You want to perpetrate a deception? People are always going to be able to think. It's incumbent upon those of us that still maintain the ability, the God-given ability for sovereign, independent thought. It's incumbent upon us to continue to speak no matter what.
I mean, this is the universe. This is all there is. It's just one world, one flat world.
Charles Johnson also believes, because airlines navigate with flat maps, that some of them endorse his theories.
We advise all our members and supporters fly TWA all the way. They're officially Flat Earth. It's the Flat Earth airline. They use the Flat Earth map. They navigate with the Flat Earth map.
Mr. Johnson, probably the most beautiful picture I ever saw was of the round Earth taken from the moon.
You see how flippant she is? Did you hear the studio audience laugh as she glanced into the camera? First of all, he was letting her know, look, all the maps used for navigation, they're azimuthal equidistant maps, the AE map, like the Gleasons and others, the ones that portray the North Pole at the center and the so-called South as a ring or a circumference around the world. This is the map used for navigation purposes, not only by, as he said, the commercial airline industry, but also all military forces. Plain and simple. And then, of course, here we are, 1980. So, again, just about a decade after the supposed moon missions, the Apollo missions, and she references the wonderful picture of Earth from the moon, so-called Earthrise.
How do you explain those pictures?
Same world. It was made in the same place, movie studios. Actually, I think NBC and some of the movie studios make much better space photographs, like Buck Rogers and all that sort of thing, as far as compared to the movies that NASA makes. They're actually rank amateurs.
Mr. Johnson says the space program is only the product of a movie studio, but from the front porch of his Flat Earth headquarters, he can see the space headquarters of Rockwell International.
Made in a movie studio, plain and simple. Not difficult, everybody. These are simple concepts, which is nice, you know. When one reaches a certain maturity, it's comforting to understand that the most important things in life are just very simple. We appear to live in a created world, one in which, well, all valuable knowledge is attainable for us, and anything that's worthy of attention is achievable. Maybe some people can't handle that simplicity. Maybe it's too much for people. Got another one for you here, and then we're gonna let you guys come up and talk to me in a little bit. I want to drop this one. Where am I? Yeah. This one will hopefully this one makes you guys laugh. You guys know who this is? His name's Cat Williams. He's been in the news a lot lately. He had a viral interview with on the Club Shay Shay YouTube channel, which is hosted by a guy named Shannon Sharp, who was a football player. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's a really good football player. Now he hosts this YouTube interview show, and Cat Williams has made headlines recently because he kind of blew the lid off of a lot of let's say Hollywood secrets about the Black Illuminati, or the so-called Boule, the weird rituals that many of these Hollywood insiders take part in, et cetera, et cetera. And let's hear Cat Williams talk about evolution and actually how absurd it is. Take it away, Cat.
We too old, we too smart, we too motherfucking good to believe shit don't make no fucking sense. You too old to be believing in evolution with your stupid motherfucking ass. Evolution say people came from monkeys, and the question is, why is there still monkeys, you dumb motherfucker, you? Is these the retarded monkeys? They didn't turn into people just yet.
That's what it is, Cat. There was retarded monkeys that they're a little slow. They haven't turned into people yet. They stayed monkeys because they were retarded, and the non-retarded ones, well, they're us. Again, it's just so simple. They make everything so hard in this fucking world, man. It's not hard, everybody. Ease up on yourselves.
Atheist fucked up. Atheist hear my whole story, hear what I believe, then he gonna tell me, nah, that don't make no fucking sense at all. Okay, well tell me your shit. His shit is that two motherfucking atoms just came to fuck together. Just came together out of nowhere, banged together, and made this whole perfect earth. Fuck out of here. You stupid enough to believe that fuckboy shit. After this show, go outside to the parking lot and bang on your car till it becomes a better car. You just out there. Still a Corolla, still a Corolla. Atheists want you to believe two motherfucking atoms banged together made this whole earth. We two.
Exactly. It's hilarious. It is classic Special K. And here's the funny thing about Cat Williams, you know. Cat was basically, he's been in movies, but he never got to the elite level of Hollywood, right? He never got to like the level of The Rock or like a Kevin Hart or any of these guys. He's kind of like a Hollywood outsider. He makes most of his money touring, you know, just kind of grassroots comedy type of stuff, produces most of his stuff. And, well, you can kind of see why. He's out here basically telling people that God exists and evolution's bullshit. How far are you going to get in Hollywood talking stuff like that? Not very far. But in his obviously hilarious way, he was making a very profound point. You know, to believe in evolution is to believe that something is contrary to all known laws of physics. The second law of physics is the law of entropy. All right. Energy seeks an equilibrium. Everything seeks neutrality in this world. These are fundamental principles that run throughout the metaphysics of our whole world. Energy seeks neutrality. Things don't magically advance and progress. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence that, as he said, two atoms can bang together and form the world. There's no evidence. There's no evidence that non-life can become life. There's no evidence that somehow minerals can form what's called these pre-electron transport systems that will serve as the fundamentals for metabolism, which is the basis of life, and form these complex electron transport chains under a term called abiogenesis. There is no evidence of these things. You're just told over and over that things evolve. Two atoms didn't bang together to make the world. That's crazy. All right, everybody. It's about that time. I'm going to drop the link in. Who just asked me? Did Angeline ask me if the link's going in? Link's in right now, everybody. Where is it? Link's in the chat if you want to come on up, chop it up with me. Come on up, chop it up with your pal Z. You never know who's going to come up. You never know. We're pretty open here on Z Show. Not many are excluded from the whole Z thing. I let people come up and talk. Now, I may curtail the amount of time I'm going to give you up here in the panel. I may do that, especially if you just come up and say pedo, pedo, pedo over and over and over again. You can see how I would, have to censor that somewhat. You can understand that. But otherwise, come on up, everybody. And as we're waiting, as promised, I got something prepared for y'all. So come on up. Let me put the thing in. Was that Angeline that asked me about the link? She said, hey, Z, you going to share out a link tonight? It's in there, Angeline. Feel free to head on up if you would like. And as we are waiting, as promised, are you here, Smith? Smith W? Are you still in the chat? Smith? All right, I got some people rolling in. Please hold if you're in the back. We're going to get to you very shortly. I'm going to do this little segment as I wait for people to come up. Just put link to join in chat. Come on up. We've got Sean of Source here. Good to see you, Sean. Hey, Pineal Power, dude. The more I look at myself, especially because I trimmed my beard up, I look like I could be your dad, dude, or like your older brother at least. Why do Pineal Power and I look so alike? And he's Jewish, which I don't know. Kind of lends credence to a lot of these conspiracy theorists who keep saying I'm Jewish. Doesn't help me. All right, let's get to the Smith W thing, and then I'm going to let my guests up. So here's the thing, Mr. Smith W. You know that I am completely fascinated with your ideology. Oops, I fucked up my stuff over here. So we're going to engage in something. Hard Hat's already laughing. Stop, Hard Hat. Stop laughing already. You gotta wait till I show it. London Man, are you London Man, are you as excited as I am that Smith W dropped a new video? I'm fucking dying. I can't wait to get into this. We're not going to take too long with it because I have guests coming up, but we have to get into this. Now, here's the game that we all need to play when it comes to Smith W. Because because Smith paints a very intricate, logical line of thought here that for some might be difficult to follow. Now, Smith, you know that some people have categorized you as having apophilia. Some people have categorized you as being like pre-schizophrenic and like suffering from like alcoholic delusions. I certainly am not one of those people. Of course not, Smith. I would never say those things about you ever, ever, ever. So anyway, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Smith W's latest drop, Super Bowl 58, coming at you.
Trump, the 45th president. Some called it a cult. Cult is a horse. Cavalier's a horseman. From Trump's birth to the Cleveland Cavaliers' first NBA game.
All right, so try to keep up, everybody. I'm playing at fast speed. He went from Trump to Cavalier to the Bulls. So, London Man, no surprise, he went right for the Bulls already. Always the Chicago Bulls, because the Cavaliers are from Cleveland, which is near Chicago, which is the Bulls. All right, everybody, try to keep up. We're going to do this.
NBA game, 8,888 days. Trump's sister died, Mary Ann Trump Berry. Made me think of Barry Soetoro. Barack Obama, he was enrolled as Barry Soetoro.
All right, so now we just so now we're to Trump's sister, which now we jump to, of course, Obama. Are you surprised, London Man, that we're at Obama already? Within 5 degrees of separation, we've already hit Trump, the Chicago Bulls, and Obama. Let's continue.
When he went to school in Indonesia. From Mary Ann Trump's Berry's birth to Obama, Barry Soetoro's birth, again, 8,888 days. Do as thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law, is what Aleister Crowley used to say, because people really...
All right, so now we're at Crowley. This is what I love about you, Smith. You bring in the full fucking panoplex, the full spectrum of trutheism in your research, good sir. Let's continue. I got to play this 2-speed, Smith, because I have to do commentary over this. So... All right, London, let's let him cook. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to plot the fucking log. Let's go.
Those people really do have free will, so I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you can choose to. He was born October 12th. Wilt Chamberlain died October 12th. Do as thou wilt. And Wilt Chamberlain died on his birthday. He obviously took his advice to hands like 20,000 women. From Wilt Chamberlain's death until the upcoming Super Bowl, again, 8,888 days. The Super Bowl is going to be on February 11th. Vatican City was founded on February 11th. 47 Israel founded May 14th. From the founding of Israel till the upcoming Super Bowl, 27,666 days. Hitler burned down his own parliamentary building, February 27th. From him burning.
I'm keeping track, Smith. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to sum it up at the end. We're going to follow. It's like Chutes and Ladders. It's just, you follow the ladder up, but then you hit like a chute and you slide all the way down to the beginning, or maybe Candyland. Does anybody remember the game Candyland? What about you, Angeline, who I have in the back? Do you remember the game Candyland? I bet you do. Hold on. Let's continue. She's nodding. Yes, she remembers. We're going to talk to her. We're going to talk to Angeline soon. Why do I love this so much? All right. Hold on.
Him burning down his own building until the upcoming Super Bowl. 33,222 days, like 322. From Hitler's death to the upcoming Super Bowl, 28,777 days. I want to point out again, too, that he burned down his own building on 2/27. 2/27 is the 58th day. We're coming up on the 58th Super Bowl. It's going to be Hawaii governor's birthday. We all know what just happened in Hawaii on 8-8, like the 888, so I was just showing you. Oprah lives in Hawaii from her birth to Hawaii governor's birth. 58 days. Again, it's the 58th Super Bowl. Georgia Guidestones collapsed July 6, 2022. From the Guidestones collapsing to the Super Bowl, 585 days before the 58th Super Bowl. The Rock lives in Hawaii, born May 2nd, 1972. From Oprah's birth to his birth, 6,600. A little technical difficulty there. From Oprah's birth to the Rock's birth, 6,668 days. From Obama's birth to Hawaii governor's birth, the Super Bowl's on Hawaii governor's birthday, 3,113. It was the 113311 illness. Funny, they just put Ann Dunham, but Obama's mom, Stanley, total chick name, Stanley. Like ley lines, the Lord of Lies. When you lay down, you lie down. She's born November 29th, 333rd day. She dies November 7th, the 311th day. She dies the same day that Gangster's Paradise was released. From the Queen's birth to Stanley Ann Dunham's birth, 6,066 days. Gangster's Paradise, November 7th. From Stanley dying to Coolio dying, 9822 days. The Queen died, 9822. October 7th, day the war started, Vladimir Putin's birthday. It's 85 days left in the year when the war started, 58th Super Bowl. From Putin's birth to Obama's birth, 3224 days. Fox News founded on his birthday, his 44th birthday, like the 44th President Obama, born 3224 days after him. From Putin's birth to Fox News flagship host they used to have, Tucker. From Putin to Tucker, 6,066 days. Corinthians 8:1. Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing yet, as he ought to know. But if any man love God, the same is known of him. Thanks, appreciate it. All glory to the Most High. God bless.
All glory to you, Smith W. All right, so here's my summation. We're gonna get to Angeline, and I have another guest too. All right, everybody. I did Special K. I think I I think I followed it. Hold on a second. So just in case anybody had a hard time keeping up, your pal Z's here, just making sure we got this on lock. Yeah, RT, you ready? So I figured it out. Smith, you are a fucking genius. Smith connected. He went all the way from Trump to Corinthians using his number counting. He went from Trump to the Cleveland Cavaliers, to the Chicago Bulls, to Trump's sister, to Obama, to Aleister Crowley, to Wilt Chamberlain, to the Super Bowl, to the Vatican, to Israel, to Hitler, to the Super Bowl again, then to the governor of Hawaii and its founding, then to Oprah, then back to the Super Bowl, then to the Georgia Guidestones, then to The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, then to Ann Dunham, then to Coolio and Gangster's Paradise, then to Queen Victoria, then to Putin and the Cold War, back to Obama, then to Fox News, Tucker Carlson, and finally we made our way to Corinthians in the Bible. No, Kobe Bryant wasn't in that one. He left it out. Smith, where are you, dude? I did a whole breakdown without you, and you're not even here to... Ruled by Saturn says he doesn't get it. What don't you get, Ruled by Saturn? Smith and I just explained it very clearly. And he explained this to me the other night. It's not gematria. Apparently, according to Smith, the days are numbered in creation. So he knows how to crack the days. It's plain and simple. Anyway, I'm going to drop the link for Smith's channel. Then I'm going to let up our first guest. Because Smith will get mad at me if I don't drop the fucking link. He's already going to be mad at me enough because of my take on his whole thing. So, where's this fucking link? Hold on. Sorry, please hold. I have to drop the link. It's only prudent that I do so. Where are you, Smith? His channel's so hard to find, which is a conspiracy in and of itself, because Smith, they're hiding your stuff, dude. You're being shadow banned, good sir. All right, why can't I get the link? Come on. Give me the link. All right. Hold on. It'll at least give me the link to his yeah, here we go. This is a link to the video that we just went over for everybody. Let me get it in here. Come on. See, Smith, don't say I didn't do anything for you. 5 people just left as I was trying to drop your fucking link in, because people have the attention span of a fucking marmot. There it is. Go show Smith some love, all right? Yeah. All right, let's get down to business as I lose half my listeners fucking around with you, Smith. My next guest, this will be her first time on the Z Show. She is lovely. She is effervescent. She appears to be full of her own truthiness, everybody. And hell, without any further ado, let's bring her up. Angeline, welcome to Z Show. Nice to talk to you.
Hello.
Howdy. How's it going, Angeline?
Good. I was hoping to come up earlier, but we will say I'd be happy to say hi for a few minutes, have some good conversation.
Yeah,
Jesse's gonna
let's.
be going live here soon, so I'll probably jump off in a quick bit here.
Gotcha. So he's going live at 8, right? That's okay. We got a couple minutes to get to know you. So talk to us, Angeline. So you mentioned Jesse. My audience got to meet Jesse last night. It was, and I had a great conversation with him. So now we get to meet you. You'd be considered his other half? Should we say better half or just other half?
Other.
Other half. Good. See, I like that. Look at that, gentlemen. This is the kind of ladies. We got one here. So what's up, Angeline? What kind of brought you around this kind of truthiness? These so-called truth communities. We all have our own little individual journeys. I'm sure yours is probably no less unique than any of ours. A lot of the topics that we talk about, it's not like, the average person's going to be, talking about this kind of stuff at the grocery store at work. These are high-level concepts: spirituality, mentalism, consciousness. Why don't you give us a little bit about your journey? Yeah, hold on. Nuba, keep it in your pants, Nuba. See, Angeline, do you have this problem with, guys in this community? You come on and people get inappropriate. Is that something you've had to deal with? What's going on?
I don't know. I guess it's everywhere. It's funny. It's a lot more on these panels than anywhere else I've ever. It's very strange.
Yeah, they're
But I guess
cretins,
that's part of the
really.
entertainment or whatever. I have no
Yeah, I
idea.
mean, these are thirsty cretins and stuff. You'll have to most of the truther community, Angeline, especially the flat earthers. You might as well just substitute the term flat earther for incel. Do you know what an incel is? If you ever met an incel, they're probably a flat earther. Or if you ever met a flat earther, they're most definitely an incel. It basically means involuntary celibate. I'm not saying you specifically, Nuba, but you kind of get what I'm saying. See, Pamela's laughing. I'm already off. I get a little flustered when the ladies come up. Hold on, rein it in. What was my question? Yeah, how did you approach these these circles? Tell us a little bit about it.
I knew on Facebook, Jesse interviewed Jack and then encouraged him to start some lives, and then I started checking them out off and on. Jesse really enjoyed them, and so started jumping on a bit, but really I don't go on very much because it's kind of hard to find space where there's good conversation and it's not just the drama and the weird stuff. And I guess my topics are maybe a little different, so just I try to jump on every once in a while when I'm feeling it and see if I can find space for good conversation. And I've heard some of your stuff, and sometimes you get into some really good stuff and really interesting to talk about. Jesse's really good at everything, and the politics stuff and all that kind of thing. And I'm probably more
he does have it. He
that
has a wide range of truthiness. There's no doubt about it. That's one of the reasons I think I could resonate with Jesse, is because we can go all over the board probably for hours and hours and hours. But let's get into you. So what are you into? What's your kind of topics of interest, so to speak?
Well, truth and spirituality, I guess. I did quite a few years of study of religion, the Bible, original languages, culture, things like that, and kind of wind up taking me right out of religion into a whole other rabbit hole I didn't even know existed, and just having a lot of experiences. And I think it's all of our journey that we have these experiences and we're trying to make sense of them all and piece the pieces together in a way that we can explain, right? And so there's that. There's health. There's just kind of trying to be in alignment with nature, understanding energy, and just our role in it all and how it works, so that we can go on a little bit wiser in the world, I guess.
So you mentioned religion and nature. Many of the let's say conventional religions that we're exposed to growing up seem to pit the spiritual against nature, where they've almost vilified the natural world with like things like paganism, and kind of made it seem like the earthly realm is in some way maybe fallen or let's say less than spiritual. What are your thoughts on that? Because I don't see it like that. I just see the earth that we inhabit, this physical reality, as just an extension of the overall consciousness that makes up the so-called universe or our world. And I don't see a difference really. So to me, I don't see like this opposition between nature and godliness. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's an opposition, but there's definitely balance. I think nature in itself is a container, and we can really mess ourselves up with not being in alignment with both nature and the energy that gives us life, right? It has to be a balance of both. Some people just think they're going to all go all spiritual and all meditation and just do some kind of magic here. And, that's great. But if you're not also paying attention to being in alignment with nature and the laws of nature, you're going to wind up in a mess in the physical realm with your body and whatnot. So good to have balance for both.
Yeah, I could agree with that. A lot of people intellectualize the spiritual world. Like you said, they would kind of maybe conceptualize a life where they can be maybe like an aesthetic, where people will go long periods of time, maybe depriving themselves of certain things, which there's value to that. But I notice when people have a family, right, it kind of grounds you. I don't know much about your background, but I think you have little ones. How has that informed your? Because we have a lot of women, Angeline, which is funny, as quote unquote misogynist, as apparently people say that I am. I have a fair number of female listeners, right? All of them are moms. Can you relate with them in some way? What do you say to your kids? How do you teach them? How do you guide them? How do you navigate spiritual understanding or that you hold with this like secularized world that's trying to teach them about, a lot of goofy stuff that kind of goes against the idea of spirituality? What do you do?
Yep, a lot of goofy stuff is one way to put it. Well, I have 3 kids. I'm going to be 42 in April. And so my oldest is 20 now. She just turned 20. And my youngest is 13. I got 3 kids. And they have always been home educated. And I'm really into child-led learning because part of what I kind of started awakening to is that I think we're all innately come here wired for what we're here on our mission for. And if we are not taken out of that and programmed out of it and confused and distracted and all those things, I think if we follow the things that light us up, we'll be going in the right direction. So I really became a facilitator for the things that are already in my children, and just really paying attention to what lights them up, what they're interested in, and feeding that. And it's been a really, really fun journey to watch my kids unfold and tackle the world and themselves. And, I don't know where you want to go about that, but yeah, that's my kiddos. They had a very different life, and they're very different kids. That's for sure.
Well, the question that comes to mind is, with your mindset and, what you just expressed here, what kind of response do you get from, like, let's say other people in the community who may not be as spiritually inclined, right? Because, people have a lot of opinions, and we are communal beings. We live in towns or villages and, communities and families, and not everybody agrees. And what I find, Angeline, is the pull of this cult of culture is very strong over people's mindsets and their mentality. And people react to things passionately. Have you experienced any challenges when it comes to maybe raising your kids with a certain mindset? Have you experienced anything from like other members who again, might not be so, let's say, enlightened?
Oh, I think it's just a lot of people are programmed in the older ways. So you'll often run up against people who are afraid and think like, oh my gosh, if your kids aren't in school, then oh my gosh, right? And then
Right.
you get people who like go on and listen to all of the rumors around homeschooling about socialization and blah, blah. So you run across those kind of people, which is hilarious because there was a huge study done in Canada with like 10,000 home educated families, and on every level the homeschoolers came out 100 times better in being able to socialize in the real world than public school kids because they're exposed to all ages of kids and all kinds of situations, and they're surrounded by adults that feed into them, and they know how to do it in all of the world, not just segmented, put in a class of 30-40 kids of all the same age and then be like, hey, go in the world and with everything else that's not exactly like you. Right? So I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, because I know, I know people in my community who have, chosen a particular course of action for their children, like when it comes down to, let's say, inoculations and things like that, right? And people have chosen to maybe pursue alternative courses other than what's being recommended by traditional medicine, vaccines and things like that. And I've seen things can get quite contentious. People have very strong feelings on both sides of these type of topics, and these questions they're difficult questions because there's so many factors to consider when it comes down to bodily autonomy, human rights, the rights that a parent has over their children, and how they may be in opposition or juxtaposed with the dictates of the state or the governing authorities. And these things they can get quite contentious, and these aren't to be taken lightly. So I commend you in in the pursuit that you're taking, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with me here in chat. Well, I know you got to run. It's 8:00, and I don't want you to feel like we're holding you up. You're gonna come back and talk to us another time, Angeline. We got a chance to meet you, which was kind of cool. Come back and see us, all right?
Yeah, it sounds good. This was great. Even in the short little bit, it was better than some other things I've been sitting through. So blessings. And yeah, I'm going to jump over to Jesse's show. Have a
Much
great
love.
night.
Much love. Rocky Shepherd. What'd you think about her, Rock?
She seems nice.
She seems nice, right?
Yeah.
Rock, do people have an energy about them? It's like I was saying earlier, people make things so complicated in this world. I think the world is simpler than people think it is. Can you just pick vibes up with people and use what's called intuition, a godly type of judgment, not in any type of righteous way, but a judgment that comes from our sovereignty as divine beings? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. You can kind of tell who people are when you first meet them sometimes. I think they can see you too.
You think so?
Other people can, like the evil, whatever force, they can see, oh, don't mess with that guy. He's got Jesus.
Right.
Or whatever.
So why don't let's catch my new listeners up on your whole story, Rocky. For those of you who might be interested in Rocky, I did, if you go to my videos, I have a playlist called Z's Truther Studio. And I did a curated retrospective of all my interviews with Rocky Shepherd.
Don't tell him.
What?
You're doxing me. Don't do it. I doxed myself.
Oh, in those videos, you doxed yourself?
Mm.
Rock, the internet's forever, man. You know what they say. That's all right. Rock, no one's gonna watch it. You know what they watch, Rock? They come here and they want to see people scream at each other, and like there's 91 people here right now, which is double from about a half hour ago. I imagine it's because we had like kind of like a beautiful, gorgeous woman up here. We'll see if they all stay for you, Rock. I'm not sure. Maybe we need to get some more hot ladies up here. I don't know. But Rock, when I was talking about the black nobility and the Canaanites, not as many people were interested in listening, but I noticed you were. Why don't you tell me about the lineage of the ruling elite? Now, you have previously identified the ruling elite class to the biblical Israelite tribe of Dan, the tribe of Dan.
Yeah.
I was connecting them to the Canaanites, and I'd imagine there'd be some link there. Why the tribe of Dan? And just let's give cliff notes for people. Danish, right? The Danish, Dan, how all these ruling elites kind of were sort of linked to these elite banking groups. Why don't you give us the cliff noted versions and we'll go into a little bit more.
Well, I'm still working on that theory anyway. I'm not positive, but the Danites from Switzerland. So you got CERN, you got the international banksters, you got CERN, Rothschild, Red Shield, Red Cross, all mean the same thing. They took up that. Basically, they're those fake bankers in Israel. You know, the 1%.
Right.
That's anyway. So my theory, because I listened to a lot of Sheen Ross, spelled with the HROSS. He was thrown in jail by the Swiss. He's considers himself a historian, and anyway, they threw him in jail. And so I've been watching, and it makes a lot of sense. And he goes back to the history of the Knights Templars, how they eventually moved to Switzerland. It's in the neutral area. They're neutral, you know. And
my research is telling me, Rock, that the Knights Templars, which existed, let's say, at the end of the so-called Dark Ages, were the original banking elites. So that would make sense to me. The Knights Templar were apparently the bankers of their time. That makes sense to me. I'm going to take a left turn on this one, Rock. You categorize yourself as a Christian man. Is that appropriate to say? You're Christian?
Well, I used to call myself a Christian. I call myself a believer.
A believer
in Jesus Christ, and
you also served in the military as a Marine. Is that correct? For a number of years.
Yeah.
My question to you is it ever okay to take another man's life? Can a killing ever be justified, Rock?
Yeah, there's you can justify it. It's the Bible says thou shalt not commit murder. That's a mistranslation. It's Greek, thou shalt not commit homicide. Defending yourself and your family, your nation, your community, that's biblical. King David was told to, he killed Goliath, he went to war. Sometimes and God divided the world into nations, right? Nations. And in order to have a nation, you have to defend yourself. Jesus said there'll be wars and rumors of wars until I come again. So the best thing to do if you want peace is to prepare for war. And, you got to defend your land.
All right, throwing it back up to something you said, because you're dropping a lot on us here. So your contention is that if you study the original translations, not the King James Bible, everybody thinks the King James Bible is the definitive version of the Bible. But as you pointed out, the original Septuagint, which you can find, was a Greek translation of the original Hebrew. Is that correct?
Right. And they also have Arabic is called the Aragon, which was written in Arabic of the scriptures.
Okay. So hold on, I don't want to lose this. So you're contending that if you look at the original translation of the Torah, you say where it gives you the Ten Commandments to thou shalt not kill. you say that's a mistranslation, that it's really thou shalt not commit homicide, which is basically a murder. Is that your contention?
Right. Thou shalt not commit murder.
Do you think they changed it to kill on purpose, or do you think it was an accident? Meaning to say, I theorize, Rocky, that many of the religions as presented are done so as a control mechanism over humanity. So I would contend that, let's say, this early 1600s King James translation through the so-called Bacon Society would be basically, let's say, a version that they would use for a control structure, and that they would potentially purposely say, thou shalt not kill, as opposed to thou shalt not murder. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's basically what is going on now. Is they want to get rid of the war. They want to replace war with a different threat to humanity, and they're using climate change. They had a book called Report from Iron Mountain, and it was, anyway. And there's this theory that Satan is trying to bring about peace in the world, but total control. Peace under Satan, but total, and he's trying to make things good. And he's going to be called. He's going to appear as the man of peace. So that's what the Revelation says. He appears as the man of peace, 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 peace. And I got off track. Yeah. So the original language is important, but there's also an Aramaic writing of the Bible. You can check it out on Zen Garcia's. He reads out of it, and it matches with the Greek. And it was written by the Arabs because Jesus spoke Arabic. And so there were also manuscripts of the Bible written in Aramaic that basically translate close to the original Greek. It's like,
so here's the thing, Rock. When you talk about the Bible, you obviously are very studied and learned on the subject. How do you respond to people who basically call you maybe a holy roller or a Churchianian or Churchian, I should say, or people who tell you the Bible's bullshit and stuff? What do you say to them, man? Because a lot of people maybe haven't investigated the subject. Everybody has their own beliefs. But how would you respond to people who would criticize
I'm
you?
not a holy roller. I'm not a holy roller. I became a believer when I was 10. I heard the gospel. I believed it. I studied the Bible since I was 10. And from the original languages, there's taboos that the church says, you smoke. You're a smoker, and they judge you while they're sucking down a soda of sugar, fat as a motherfucker, and they're judging you about your smoking. Well, look at you're sucking all that sugar down. Those are taboos. Those are not sins. Nowhere in the Bible it says smoking is a sin. So I'm not a holy roller. I try to follow the way of the scriptures, but I'm not a holy roller. I think there's more wisdom in that one book than all the books put together. All the books put together, there's more wisdom in that one book. Collection of books, I should say, written over 3,500 years by over 45 authors. And you're trying to tell me that they all conspired together to write this collection of books, that some of them didn't even know each other, but they all intermingle, and they all have the same story. It's telling you about the Messiah. They used to believe that he would come, and that's how you were saved. Now we believe that he did come. That's how you're saved. It's always faith. And faith is a non-meritorious means of perception. It's not logic. It has logic and it has reason, but it's mostly based on faith, because that's what God wants you to do. He wants you to have faith in him. And that's what he respects, faith. Not
Rock, I see behind you, you have the updated version of the Gleason's map. I could see that over your left shoulder. What could you tell me about that? Why do you have that up there?
I'm a flat earther. The Bible says the earth is flat. I'm not your conventional Christian. If I find out something is true, even if my pastor, who taught me from the original Greek, who is dead now, even if he taught me that, and I'm kind of confused why he would believe that. But you have to understand, he also grew up with the lie. He grew up from the 30s, and he died in 2010. And he lived in Houston, NASA. So he was bombarded with the lie. But, so I don't, he would talk about how we went to space and how we did all this. But that was before I even knew. 2010, he died. So I'm not a holy roller. That's for sure.
So is it safe to say that you're not a flat earther because of your religious beliefs? It's just that your religious beliefs happen to coincide with the physics of this world. Is that safe to say?
Yes. I used to believe the earth was a spinning. Well, I didn't even think about it. It didn't even fucking interest me because I knew school was bull crap. They showed me these pictures when I was in science in 7th grade. I didn't pay attention to it. It looked kind of weird. And I found out the earth was flat. 2015. I did the research when all the videos were out. And then I said, damn, the Bible says it's flat. How come I believed that it was spinning ball? How did I believe that lie? My pastor thought it. We'd all been brainwashed. It's a big lie. And so this right here is the earth. And I got my laser and the sun goes around like this from east to west.
Rock, there's a question from the audience. The audience says, please ask if the word of God can be changed. Also, why is the Bible changing? Rock, you've heard this before. Some people say the word of the Bible is changing. They associate it with the so-called Mandela effect. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are this: the Bible, not all Bibles have the proper translation in the first place. Some of them got mistranslated because people use the Bible. They they'll give you most of it in, and then they'll change a couple words. And like King James, he'll change a few words so he can put out his little deal. But the word of God is that which was given to the apostles through the Holy Spirit, and it was the intent of the word, what was originally meant. That is the word of God. What was written down can be manipulated. And it also, I don't know how CERN or any of this black magic they're using in Mandela effect or what's going on, what it is, but the Bible may have warned us about that in Malachi somewhere. The devil uses signs and wonders that even the elect might be deceived. That doesn't negate the Bible, the original word, what the Lord meant us to know, what was originally put in the original text. That's the word of God. It's been manipulated, changed it, but I've studied it long enough to know that it's the true word of God and that I don't have to worry about anything. You can still read the scriptures and be saved. The main thing is you have to believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins and he rose again, and put your faith in God. And if you reject God, then he says he's going to give you a debased mind and you're going to believe all kinds of nonsense. And that seems to be happening. it seems like these people that hate Jesus and hate the Bible, like they're the sickest motherfuckers on the face of the earth. That's all I got to say.
What do you say to people who claim the opposite? Because there's some people, Rocky, that will claim that it's actually the religious zealots, in particular Christian religious zealots, who evidence many of the debased, immoral behavior throughout the centuries, not only in today's world, but also throughout history, you know, things like the Crusades and the witch hunts and things like that.
I hear.
What are your thoughts?
I hear you that anybody can call themselves a Christian, but you know, are they following what the book says, or are they just calling themselves? The Roman Catholics have, you know, they may have started out as Christian, but they sure as hell are not going by the way of the Bible.
What are your thoughts on the Roman Catholic Church?
Well, America came over here to get away from the Roman Catholic Church because they were being persecuted, because the Roman Catholic Church outlawed the Bible and said that they were the only ones that could give you about Tyndale and Wycliffe and some of these guys who came out with they wanted everybody to have the Bible. They were persecuted by the Roman Catholic Church and hung, burned at the stake because they believe everyone should be able to interpret the Bible themselves and not have this high priest system where the priests have control of the Bible, and then they tell you they make a word that says repent, change it to penitence. Penitence means give me some money, and you know, and they say go into the booth and confess your sins to a father. When the Bible never said that. That's the first CIA agent. You go in, you tell these priests your sins, and then they blackmail you, whatever. With the, you know, it's wholly not going by the scriptures. It's you know, and so the American came over in the 1600s to get away from the Roman persecution. They identified as the Antichrist way back in the 1600s was identified as the Antichrist system. And so you can't judge Christianity by a false religion, you know, and there are a bunch of false Christian churches. They preach they preach the what do they call that? The prosperity doctrine, give to God and he will give to you. In other words, give me 10% of your money and you will be blessed by the Lord. And I'll fly my jets around and shit. And they call that, that's not the Christian way. It's that they say they are, you know, and the Crusades was the Knights Templars of the Roman thing, you know. It's not.
So you think all that prosperity gospel is just complete bullshit, right?
Well, it is bullshit because they misinterpret it. You know, if you give your works and you work for God, God blesses you. That's true, but it doesn't mean you give money to this guy over here so he can buy a jet.
So you're saying the idea that we could manifest things with our intention, you agree with that, but you think they're grifting off that people are exploiting that understanding for their own benefit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They misinterpret. I mean, they take a scripture here. It says, God blesses you if you bless God, and then send me some money because I represent God. You know, they represent the scriptures. They're charlatans, or whatever you call them.
So, Rock, you're kind of like an old-timey guy. Like, they don't really make them like you anymore, right? Like, you're kind of like a model that at this point has been discontinued for, like, newer versions, right? And what would you say? What would you say to the younger generation, guys, dolls? Look, we see, you know, a generation that in many ways could be categorized as reprobate, a lot of ways engaging in base behaviors and things like that. What message would you give them, these young people today?
Well, my message has always been to believe the gospel of Jesus, and to study the scriptures to show yourselves approved unto God, a workman need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. The word of truth is God's. I mean, you have to find it. You have to search for it. I mean, you don't have to go to the King James Version. If you're Aramaic, get the Aramaic that was written in about 500 AD by Arabics of, and
So you're saying there's an Aramaic version, because I always thought the New Testament was written in Greek, like when they wrote it originally. I always thought they wrote it in Greek.
yeah, but there were some Arabics at the time that copied it from the Greek or something.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
Real early copy. And so because Jesus spoke Arabic, he lived in the Middle East.
Right. He apparently spoke Aramaic. Would you say like that, what would you point people to? Like, would that be like the Dead Sea Scrolls or things in Gnosticism? Like, would the Gnostic stuff be, where could we look for that?
I can look it up. I know there's a site where you can buy one.
All right. So if somebody looks up Aramaic New Testament translation, they should be able to find it.
I think it's called the Aragon.
The Aragon. All right. I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to look that up.
It's put out by Sacred Book Studios. His name is Zen Garcia, and he collects a lot of the old manuscripts that should have been in the scriptures, and he'll go live and read them. Like, he'll read them. Like, I think he's reading the Aragon now, which is the Arabic, and I think it's an English translation of the Aragon.
All right, Rock, let's start bringing some people up to jump in on the conversation, because I'd imagine what you're saying will come off as controversial to some, which is good. We want people with different beliefs, Rocky. And one thing I can say about you, good sir, is you stand on your beliefs, and that's commendable. Let's bring up RT. RT, welcome back to Z Show. It's been a while.
Yo, what's going on?
What's up, RT? What's popping?
Hey. I just wanted to pop in here real quick, and I don't know if you saw, there was a Mandela Effect show that Brian Stavely, our good friend Brian Stavely,
Flatzoid?
Yes. Did you watch any of that?
No, I have it tagged. I didn't watch it, but it's on my it's tagged. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I'm telling you, there was
Flatzoid's biblical, isn't he? RT?
Yeah,
he's a Christian guy, right?
Yeah. Well, I just recently, because you couldn't chat unless you were a subscriber, which is fine. I have no. It was about one of the other dudes that joined the show. This fella that's kind of like prominent in the whole ME circle that deals mostly with geographic stuff. But I mean,
right.
Here was the thing, Z and Rocky. This guy brought up something to Brian like, hey, I just found a brand new Mandela Effect that I want to bounce off you, Brian. And the guy goes, he's fishing around like, do you remember what the president that became president after George Herbert Walker Bush? And of course, it's Bill Clinton. And the guy goes, well, his name's not Bill anymore. And everybody's like scratching their head like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? He said his name is William. And he thought that was a Mandela Effect. I shit you not. I shit you not.
So RT, what is your thoughts on? I don't think you and I have ever had a Mandela Effect discussion either in any chat or live. In general, thoughts on it? Because I get it. Some people, they're going to judge. They're going to say, oh well, they're just going to see changes everywhere. And I think there's a word called confabulation that's used. in that. What's your take on this idea? Well, it's just called Mandela effect. What it really is this idea that reality could change and shift. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's a true phenomenon. I mean, I'm not a denier by any means, but there are so many just horrible ones that some of these characters throw out there that just make the whole thing look like we're just idiots. You know, like, how do you make people look insane? You throw out something like, hey, Bill Clinton, that's a Mandela effect. It's now William. Well, in fact, it's William Jefferson, like it always was. If you go back to your ballot, if you were old enough to vote back in those days, William Jefferson Clinton. I mean, it's so insane. And that's not the first time this dude has brought up something that was just totally off the wall. So, Z, you being an educated, professional dude, I'm going to ask you, maybe you've heard this before, but like, where is the country of Costa Rica? Where is it located on the map that we all recognize as the map?
Right. So it's in Central America.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to know, like, in between which particular countries, or?
No, you said enough, because it would be, you may have to like scratch, go back in your memory banks. But yes, Costa Rica is a Central America country that's situated between Nicaragua to the northwest and Panama to the southeast. Okay, this dude has been trying to tell people, and people are buying into it, that Costa Rica was a standalone country, island, situated out in the Caribbean Sea somewhere. Like, it was always some island. And like, you got to be kidding me. How could anybody ever believe that went through 5th grade geography class? So there's certain people that just seem to be dedicated to just throwing shit on, like throwing spaghetti on the wall to see if it's done. I don't know.
Well, what about this, RT? I mean, in the flat Earth community, and I know you resonate around those topics too.
Right, sure.
I see obvious evidence of paid saboteurs, or at least some type of bots, some type of let's say dedicated oppositional presence. I don't know if you've noticed that, but
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So is it possible that we see these things throughout all the different like sub communities where you just have like this I think more and more it's AI, like with the flat earth thing, man. I've seen bots come at me, at least in my comments. I've seen evidence of bots in live chats, although I can't prove it, but I certainly see the evidence of bots in the comments and after a video or a live stream is published. So it seems like how they promote all the anti-flat earther stuff. Like, for instance, the Professor Dave Weiss, like debate, if you can call it that took place.
Right.
Dave Weiss has it on his site, and it may have a couple thousand views, but on Professor Dave's YouTube channel, it's up in the multi-million of views.
Oh my God.
It's the same video, right? Yeah. If you go to Professor Dave's channel, the interaction he had with Dave Weiss, it's got something like 5 million views or something like that. So to me, that's obvious, right? There's an algorithm that pushing things in certain ways, because in Professor Dave's version, it says, like idiot flat earther destroyed, whatever. So I guess my point is, they're not outlawing our speech as such, right? It's not so direct. The let's say the tyrannical control they're trying to implement over the things that we say, they seem to be doing it in occulted ways, whether it's using their algorithms to shift things in particular directions, or like RT, I think they've corralled us into the so-called truth community.
Oh, because totally.
Yeah, go ahead. Because let me say this and I'll let you guys. This, the fact that we all kind of know each other. It's like the fact that like people who know Z know like Chalk Body Outline, know like fucking Talcott, and they know like Provo Kid. Why do we all know each other in some weird way when there's actually very little connection other than this like truthiness. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, makes it feel like, we're being kind of like corralled into like various animal farms of truth or dumb, like, and, raise your hand if you've never gone down these rabbit holes and like been all on board and like felt like you were in this little community, only to find out like once you start like hearing the same thing over and over again and go like, well, wait a second, I've been to the Swiss Alps, I've been to the Austrian Alps. There's no way, I mean, I've hiked through them. There's no way those are melted brick buildings. So if you're telling me that all mountains are melted brick buildings, I'm going to have a problem with that. I like everybody here. I think we're all cool, but like, I can't just like sit in the background and go, yeah, okay, whatever is said. But getting back to the flat earth thing, there's the recent push, like Dell from Scotland, he's promoting the whole, upward lifting earth is what causes gravity. So it's like this constant moving upward, which to me is it's just as absurd as the globe. I mean, like, you would definitely feel that our inner ear, you being an audiologist, you would know, like, we would feel that motion. There's no way around it. Like, we're not just like bred to ignore certain movements within our nervous system and accept others. So to me, it's almost like, you guys, what is going on with some of these things? So these things that are either pushed on us that are stupid, that same dude was pointing out like, hey, he remembered Theodore Roosevelt wearing a monocle. It's like, no, Teddy Roosevelt always had these spectacles, and he made these type of spectacles popular in the late 1800s that just sat on the bridge of your nose. There's a certain style, and it was his shtick. It had no temple connections to your ears. It's just propped on your nose, like old fashioned thing. But this dude is pushing like, oh, hey, in my memory, it was so. I'm kind of all around it.
RT, do you think people are compelled through, let's say, social norms to just kind of go along? Like you said, like, to you, you're not accepting certain elements of this truth or dim. Do you think there's an element of people who just kind of want to like just be nice, so they'll capitulate to certain ideas? And do you think that's to the detriment of the truth? Because isn't this just really about truth? Isn't this what this should be about, this endeavor about a true thing versus an untrue thing? So I kind of like your stance on it, RT. Like, you seem like you're willing to be a little bit of a, I guess, like a counterculturalist in these communities, where you'll kind of stand up and call bullshit on something. Do you get flack on that? Like, do you enjoy that role? Like, what's your take? Because people look at that as trolly, and it may not be as such.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it, but like, it's almost like, I feel like there's a deep-rooted need for people that maybe they're socially isolated or whatever. They're just like, they view their communities to be this online thing, and and we all enjoy that, where we interact with people that we're familiar with and have similar views that are sort of outside the norm. But then it becomes like almost, it can become, I'm not saying it becomes that way every time and everywhere, but it can become very cultish or very protective or very myopic, very like, if you don't believe everything that our leader here that hosts this channel believes and is promoting, then we're gonna send our flying monkeys after you, and we're gonna start saying bad things about you. And I've had this happen to me already. And like, wait a second, all I said was, I don't believe that. Like, that's such an extreme claim that can never be proven. And the fact that I'm just like, hey, I have life experiences that tell me what you just are saying cannot possibly be true. So, forgive me if I'm just pointing it out to like, hey, I'm just waving my hand like, come on now. I don't know if that answers your question, but like, I don't enjoy being the one that's like shitting on people's parade. Like, here's another example.
Well,
like,
RT, we have to hold people to a certain standard. We have to look, if we don't hold each other to particular standards, who's going to do it? Hold that thought, RT. I think I have another flat earther in the back. Let me let him up. Harmon, welcome to Z Show.
Hey, what's up, RT?
Hey, Harmon, how you doing, my friend?
I haven't heard from you for quite a while.
Long time.
Yeah, I'll drop you another email and we'll say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
How's it going, Harmon? Welcome to Z Show, Harmon. I was just welcoming you to the show. Go ahead. I have some questions for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Back when years ago when Brian started his channel and he's talking about he switched from 9/11 to the Mandela effect. I called him in and I said, well, I have a little problem with it. That was when he was just first starting with it. I spent 5 years in England. And when I was over in England, down Trafalgar Square, down there in London, where all the embassies are, they in front of the South African embassy, they'd always were protesting saying free Mandela out of prison. And this is in 88 and 89. So then when I get back to the States, everybody said, oh, he had died. I said, well, they're protesting over there every day to release him from jail. So I don't think he's too dead. That was my problem.
Yeah.
So
you have to understand something, Harmon. The Mandela effect is just a term was given to a particular phenomenon. It's possible that term was given as some type of controlled opposition or subterfuge. It's actually a poor term, kind of like flat Earth. It kind of has taken on like a negative connotation. Harmon, I consider you a flat earther's flat earther like me. Okay. Harmon, you're kind of one of these guys, and we've talked briefly in the past, so I kind of, have a take on you. We're kind of these people who are, we're not ashamed to espouse our thoughts on the cosmology. Let me ask you something, Harmon. What's your take on the rising Earth topic?
Well, I think that's just someone's paid him off or something, or he's just loony as a Fruit Loop.
See, I don't agree with that. So you think either he's cuckoo or in some way like like a paid op.
I don't think he truly believes it. There's not enough to make sense, and all his yelling and being all his stuff and putting on a show like an actor, I just don't buy it.
All right, so for anybody who's unacquainted with the topic, we're referencing RT brought it up. There's a flat Earth channel called Beyond the Imaginary Curve, and the host is named Dell. He is a proponent of what's called rising Earth theory. Many in the flat Earth community look at that as ludicrous and completely insane, to the point where Harmon just gave his view that it would, Harmon feels like he's either crazy or just bullshit, like a LARP. I actually disagree. I'm not saying I agree with that theory, but I disagree in your take. I think he actually, in his mind, feels as though that would be the explanation of gravity. Yeah. I don't see him as a LARP. RT, your take?
Yeah, no, I mean, Harmon, I can totally understand where you're coming from, but I personally, I don't watch enough of Dell, but I think he truly believes this thing. Like, he's hitched his wagon to this thing, and so like once you do that, then there's no going back to like admit like, oh shoot, maybe I shit the bed on that one, like
But here's the thing, guys, is he's been around for a fair amount of time, and he's only recently come out with the rising Earth theory.
Right.
He wasn't always on that theory.
No.
Well, Harmon, RT, let's talk about it. And Rocky, I mean, okay.
I watched him for years and years. I followed him when he was doing his street stuff. I followed him when he would talk to people. I mean, it's not like I haven't followed Dell. I don't know who he is. So when he's done this, it's fishy. I followed him way too much for him to switch and do this. So
Hey,
it's not,
Harmon.
I don't think it's genuine.
Hey, Harmon, remember when he and Harry, this is before they had their falling out. Those guys were great. I don't know if you remember, like, you know, in Scotland and so forth, that Harry, who went on the UK tour and did all that stuff, you know,
Right, with that van and everything.
Yeah. But I mean,
Oh.
those two used to be partnered up, and then they had a falling out. But yeah, I mean,
I didn't
some of
know that. I didn't know he was kind of, sorry, I dropped out there for a second.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, okay, so I've said this multiple times on my show, and this will be good for the flat earthers will enjoy this. The rest of you guys, you know, just kind of hold on as we kind of geek out a little bit, because we're going to get real, because I have a lot of different listeners here, and you know, some people are just coming around to these concepts.
The rest of the Mandela effect people, just remember that Costa Rica was an island in the Caribbean Sea. Don't worry about it. You know, don't remember what you learned in 5th grade.
You know, I've
Okay.
heard that one, RT. You weren't the first person to bring that up. I've heard other people mention that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But regards to gravity, I've said this before. The only reason, to me, okay, that we need to even have a concept of why things fall down is because somebody told you somewhere that you lived on a globe. If you never had that concept of globe, to me, relative density disequilibrium is enough. I don't need to substitute another theory for gravity. Now, Harmon, I don't know your take on, you know, electrostatics and the dielectric plane and substituting the theory of gravitation for electromagnetism. To me, that's just another theory. Now, I think electromagnetism is demonstrable, and to me, it's the only demonstrable force there is. But to substitute that as a new theory for gravity may be problematic. So I guess my point is it okay just to say down is down and things go down because they're more dense or heavier than the air around them, or things rise because they're lighter or less dense than the air? I understand we can evidence electrostatics with things like Van der Graaf generators and etc. But I guess my point is, why would rising Earth be so crazy, even in relation to another theory like electrostatics? Isn't whether it's rising Earth or electrostatics, isn't that just another theory of why things fall down? Go ahead. Anybody could take it from here.
Motion. You forget there's just too much motion. Like I think RT said, motion. You're going to feel the motion. It's just that was just out there. The electrostatics and electromagnetic, that's all man-made objects. If you could create what the creator has created, then you would be a creator. They can pretend to make their little man-made models, but I told them several times in chats and stuff, they always get mad. I said, you guys are becoming like people who believe in the globe. You're just making up a model and believing in it. It's no difference than the globe believing their hogwash. That's what I think when they start getting too deep.
I think it's trying to make flat earthers look stupid, whoever came up with that idea. You know, like, it's just a stupid idea. Someone came up to make all flat earthers look dumb.
Yeah, but I agree, Rocky, but Dell is no dummy. I mean, he's definitely, you know,
he's not dumb.
No, he truly must believe it and has been convinced in a way. But I tell you one thing, I did watch a video that he had made about, like, to quote unquote prove, you know, this was early on, prove, you know, this concept. And he was putting it was on a workbench in his garage or shed or whatever, and he had, you know, bolts or something, you know, to show, like, you know, it's on a surface and, you know, it's on a flat surface, and
well, it goes against
pushing something one way and to demonstrate, well, it takes acceleration, but, like, look, this is all totally, like, controlled. Like, it's on a table that's being pushed down, like the objects are being pushed down on this table, and you're trying to show, like, moving sideways is the end all be all. I don't know. It just seemed like so lame.
So their main proof, based off my investigation, that they espouse is that relative density disequilibrium ceases in a free fall, which they would just call stasis. Okay. That's what they underpin most of their ideas on. They basically say that what we conjecture as maybe like a law of physics in terms of density does not hold when an object is in a free fall, but it's only in a free fall relative to our frame of reference on the supposed rising Earth. Does that make sense?
No, don't make sense.
Neither did Einstein.
Yeah.
He never made sense.
First of all, it's anti-scripture. The Bible says the earth does not move. Second of all, I like the other topic where you're talking about bots, all these bots, because my computer got attacked by bots, and some bot got in my computer and fried it.
Oh man, that's bad. Hey, you know, one thing that would be cool, like if you could be in a world where there were no sacred books, and so people couldn't just, like, you know, when they needed an answer or needed some, you know, get out of jail free card concept in a discussion, they reach out to some holy book to say, hey, this book says this. Well, like, if you didn't have that book, what would your mind tell you? What would your heart tell you? To me, it's almost like it's a total, I don't know, like getting,
there's no evidence of moving up.
Deferring your intellect to something that's not you. I don't know. What do you say, Z? What say you, Z?
Here's what I'll say. We were talking about this the other night on my show. To me, it comes down to morality. Now, I understand what you're saying in a lot of ways about, you know, looking to a scripture for, let's say, you know, morals, ethics, values, and principles. But
right,
to me, it's independent of the scripture. As long as one has a concept of God or creator, I think one can then, along with you're saying, have an intuition or an understanding of right and wrong or good and evil. But I do think the key component is the God component, regardless of the particular doctrine or religion. To me, without God, there are no morals. I think one of the big problems in this culture that has been engineered with a mindset of scientism is that they removed God. And I don't see a way for humanity to recognize a sense of morals without a sense of God or the spiritual. But I can agree that to point to this particular doctrine or that book and say that is the true answer or that is the ultimate truth, I think it's foolish.
I didn't use the scriptures for my evidence that the earth doesn't go up. I don't feel any upward movement. The evidence doesn't show that we're moving up. I just use the Bible as a backup. The Bible also says we're not moving. I didn't use it. That wasn't my primary evidence.
Yeah.
I get my primary.
I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that. It wasn't I wasn't trying to be derogatory. It was just almost like I hear that time and time again. You know, when people refer to whatever their holy book of choice, it's like, well, because it says in here, well, but you know, and also acknowledge that there's value. Clearly, there's value in ancestors writing down something to be transferred generation to generation, knowledge or whatever. So I'm not discounting it for zero. I'm just sort of like, on certain aspects, it should be more of a, you know, an intellectual, like, well, what would I think? I see what they're saying, but like, do I agree? Or, you know, just because they said it, is that something that I'm on board with? I mean, you know, just that type of thing.
All the ancients thought the earth was flat, and they all wrote it in their books.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You don't even doesn't have to be the Bible. I mean, all the ancient people used to think it was flat. They had different symbols for it, stuff.
Sure.
But you know, I think this last 500 years has been a whole big scam. Everybody used to believe in some God. There was a God somewhere. That they all worship different gods, but they all thought there was a God. But this evolution thing brings up to where you don't even have to believe in any God. Yeah, I'm an atheist. there's no God.
Well, that
Great
doesn't make
correction.
any sense at all. If you know, where did we even come from? It's to be an atheist seems to be the most lowbrow position to take. I mean, no offense to atheists out there, but like, I don't know, if you've ever had a child and you look at it like, oh my God, this is a miracle that we just created. I have no idea, but I don't know.
Just because somebody like a Christian who's been a Bible believer all his whole life, and he doesn't believe what the Bible says about the book, doesn't mean the other things he knows is false, because he was raised up on that lie too. It's going to take him just as hard to get him away from that lie as anybody else.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for sure.
So
definitely,
you go up to Christians and say, "Oh, they don't even believe their Bible," and so that
well, there's obviously part of the Mandela effect community is are the Bible changes, and I truly am befuddled with many of them. Lion and the Lamb, or where 2 or 3 are I remember, I totally remember 2 or more. One aspect of that concept to me might be that so many people, they go to church and they hear from the pulpit, and it could very well be that these seminaries, they train their ministers, pastors, priests, or whatever you want to call them, in a certain way to deliver a certain message. And I'll just share, like, for me, the Lord's Prayer, that's completely not a Mandela effect. The Lord's Prayer, the source of the Lord's Prayer goes back to the Anglican version of the Book of Common Prayer that predates the King James version of the Bible.
I remember both ways. I remember both ways.
No, but listen to me. This thing was already crafted and interpreted way back when, and you can go back and see documented changes of where it went from, in earth to on earth, because that was a more modernized version of where we lived. So how do we all know the Americans? How do we all know the same Pledge of Allegiance? Like that there's not different words and different wording of the Pledge of Allegiance. It's because it was controlled centrally. It's the same with the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer has been controlled centrally for hundreds of years. And so if you go back and you look at what is the official version of the Lord's Prayer for Catholicism or the Eastern Orthodox Church, English speaking, it's going to be identical to most of the Protestant versions of Christianity, other than like Presbyterian, that Presbyterian still uses debtors. But how do you make everybody know the same prayer? It's controlled centrally. It's not like, well, it came from this version of the Bible or this version of the Bible or this version of the Bible. So for me, that one is a non-starter, a total foobar. There is no Mandela effect associated with the Lord's Prayer. It's totally a non-starter. But that doesn't mean that there aren't some other changes within the Bible that I have no idea. But I have no idea.
I don't know what the Mandela effect is. It's something.
It's definitely something. There's a phenomenon, and I'm I totally am a believer in it. But like, I'm also a torch carrying member of the crowd that's like, anyone that's promoting something that's bogus, I'm going to point it out and tamp it down.
I remember in Houston protesting them going to let Mandela out. I don't know if it was the late 80s or early 90s, but I remember protesting.
Well, Harmon brought that up earlier, where, like, so many of these things just are bogus. They're including the name, the actual name, the moniker itself, the namesake itself is like, that's a bogus thing. Like,
What I was trying to say is we remember different in Europe than America was told. Who knows what America was told? Because I wasn't here for 9 years. I lived over in the Middle East and in England.
Right.
So who knows what we're taught different than what you guys are taught? It's the same thing. The Bible could be written different in different countries. They put it out different.
Well, that's just it.
No, that's true. That's true.
Different countries print it different.
Yeah.
I used to go to a friend of mine's. We used to have meetings, John Birch meetings at his house, and he read we'd read the Lord's Prayer, but he read it different than me. He read it debts and debtors, and I remember it a different way. But I also remember in Bible class that my pastor teacher told me that
trespasses
and if you forgive trespasses, it's also means debts, because there's a parable about how.
That's right.
Listen to me, everyone, please listen to me. This version of the Lord's Prayer is sourced from the Anglican version of the Book of Common Prayer, which predates the King James Version. So you go and look the Catholicism version of the Lord's Prayer, the Orthodox version of the Lord's Prayer in English, and most Protestants are all identical. So that cannot be a Mandela effect when everybody is still learning. We all learned this in our childhood, and everyone is still learning the exact same version. So to point it out to like, hey, the Bible's changed, the Lord's Prayer has changed, like that's total nonsense. People haven't looked into it.
Well, what Z started off with is, I don't know how we get back on the Bible. I'm tired of bashing it all these years, going backwards and forwards. Z was talking about the electronic effects of up and down. That's where we started this whole thing at.
So hold on, Harmon, before we jump on that, let me start letting people out, because I need to move on to my next segment one at a time. Right. Rocky, why don't you bid people farewell, Rocky? How you doing, Rock? Are you going to come back and visit us sometime soon? Are you still off grid? What's your current situation, good sir?
Yeah, I'm off grid still.
So you come into town every so often and do the internet thing? Is that what you're up to?
This is my office in town.
All right.
My computer was hacked, and so this is my old computer. My backup. And yeah, I'm sorry I got off subject, but
yeah, whatever. Just come visit me sometime soon, Rock. Much love. RT, dude, it's been a while, dude. It's good to talk to you, man. I know you popped up on my show briefly a while ago, man. It's good to see you, man. Hopefully we'll get to talk more in the future. Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me up, and really appreciate it. And welcome back and all that good stuff. But we'll sign off. Much love, RT. RT, everybody. All right, Harmon. So let's get into electrostatics. You seem, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm kind of getting the vibe you have a similar mindset to me. When you see people espousing unevidenced theories, you see a slippery slope. I don't want to speak for you, but that's my view. It's like, I'm not particularly inclined on theories anymore. I'd rather just stick with demonstrable reality. And I'm okay with not knowing everything. Go ahead,
exactly.
Your thoughts.
Keep it simple, right?
Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's like I don't see the need for it. I think it's arrogant and foolhardy to start giving theories. And I don't mean to bash people who may espouse those theories, because I understand them and I get where they're coming from. And I may actually even believe many of them. But I think it muddies the water. because people always say, "Where's your model? Where's your model? Where's your model?" You know.
This is how I'm looking at it: is they're memorizing and doing all this stuff that's fake in the first place. It doesn't exist. So why are you going on the space is going to be the tour? Well, it's not real in the first place. So you're memorizing. We're wasting our time memorizing stuff that's not even real, and you're trying to debate stuff that's not even real. It's not even a subject to debate. You know, it's just ridiculous. You can regurgitate these thousands of things, but it's like regurgitating Superman book. It doesn't. It's not real.
What do you think of the primary flat earthers in the community? The ones that are promoted, the ones that have the big channels, the ones that get the most attention. It's almost like the flat earth has become personified around certain individuals. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought that too. Then I went to the beach this summer down in California, and this lady and her husband sat next to me. He went out surfing. She's sitting there, and I was showing her how flat the horizon was. I said, but you see that ship there? And I said, like, she goes, well, it could just be on our site. Just by just a simple word or saying, I said, oh, you're a flat earther, huh? She was, right? So I'm asking her about these channels. She has never heard of them. She never heard of Dave Weiss. She never heard of Jaron. She never heard of the Mandela. She just, well, they were on the COVID thing. They had time to look. They looked into it, and they saw, I don't know where they got their information from, but it wasn't from none of the channels or anything that I could talk to you about. So maybe we're just blind that we're in that little circle. We think that's what everybody knows, but maybe it's bigger than we even thought.
Harmon, do you think there's going to be a threshold level reached that it's going to tip the scales, or do you think the lies of the cosmology will always be maintained? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's too indoctrinated. It's just. And it makes you think, what's it for? You know, I'm glad I have the knowledge, because I think it gets rid of a lot of the fears from everything we had just gone through and all the wars and all this stuff. So for us, I'm glad I learned it. I'm not going to be a Cyrus like in the movie where he wants to go back and have his steak. So I'm glad I know it, but I don't think it's for the masses. I don't think it ever will be.
Really? My thoughts are, if it becomes mainstream, or if people actually start to understand this on a mass level, I see no way that economies and governments could be maintained at that point. If people realize the nature of the deception, I don't know, man. I don't see how civil society could be maintained, and it might not be such a bad thing. But I don't know.
My little 7-year-old granddaughter. Just the other day, I was talking about the sun being white and like that. She goes, well, it appears to be white. It's really orange. We're just going to see it. She's arguing with me to the core. She already knows what the sun is. So it's just perpetual. It's not going to, it's just, they're too big. Until it's just too big. It's just, I don't know. What do you think, sir? I don't know your name up there.
Morgan.
Morgan. What do you think?
That the money is or the resources are being siphoned into other projects and the other things, either in order to keep the grip, not just on the finances of other countries, and in fact, in order to control the export and import to a degree where it's centralized based upon those whose interests, the richest and most powerful, they're consolidated, if you want, cabal that has most of the control and likes to keep it, if you will, just extend everything out from that naturally, like marrying, inbreeding, everything that would come with greed and trying to keep everything centralized as much as you can, understanding what we know about people and about their fear of, let's say, or the unknown, or just
well, Morgan, I think that's what they do, is they exploit our fears, right?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest fears of men and women is to be rejected from the community or the family.
Yes.
Because there's a survival aspect to it. We are communal or beings. We can't exist on our own, right? So what they do is they create a culture of indoctrination, and then anybody who challenges the dictates of the culture is at risk of rejection. So I think there's a survival element to it. So people will defer to the narrative just in an effort to, let's just say, go along to get along. It's a
To
very...
go with the rest of the salmon to hopefully spawn. And I mean it. Just that hopefully down the road, do I want to get laid or not? I better go with the herd so I can have a family, the whole shindig, right? So I can spawn, literally have offspring and succeed.
Yeah. And I think it's a very feminine mindset. So I think they feminize the culture. So you basically see this culture of compliance, and people just sort of go along but what a slippery place to be, because, people have abandoned truth. It's said that truth will set you free, and people try to discover freedom outside of truth. I don't think you can. I think truth is really the only thing that could free one of their bondage, because to me, all bondage is a mental and spiritual bondage.
Yes,
and
it frees you from the mental bonds.
There's a courage, man, because to embrace the truth has consequences, earthly consequences.
To emancipate yourself from intra-slavery, what they do to us, only then can you free your mind. First, you've got to cut the bonds between them, the proverbial them, and you, so that you start thinking for yourselves, for one.
Yeah, right on. All right, I got to get to the news.
Real quick, I was going to say something, Z, real quick.
Go ahead, Harmon. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I go off of is on the up and down stuff and everything like this. Now, I went and looked back in Project Manhigh and everything like this. I've always been a big thing to this to people. We've never been physically above 26 miles in the air. Okay. You can go to Project Manhigh, look at all the stuff in the Look magazines and all the stuff that they did. They had these balloon stuff with people in gondolas that would go up. Russia, I don't know if you heard me talk about this or not, but nothing's gone higher than 26 miles. A man has gone no higher than 24 miles, basically. An unmanned balloon went up to about 26 miles. As high as anything goes. You cannot...
Hold on, Harmon. So hold on. So you're saying this idea of, let's say, Bezos and Blue Origin, and they're claiming they're going 62 miles to the supposed Kármán line.
Right.
You're saying that's complete bullshit, huh? Even
100%. 100%.
Tell me why. Why?
Because I went and studied. I started with the Mars helicopter. The Mars helicopter supposedly could fly on Mars. All right. And just about 10 days ago,
which is funny because they can't get a helicopter to the top of Everest or fly one in a desert. Yeah. So how do they design one for Mars?
That was what got me started. Okay. And then they said, because they put a third rotor on it. But that's just a garbage story. So I started studying. So I wanted to find how high a helicopter could fly, because they said the atmosphere is like 50 miles up. Our atmosphere compared to Mars' atmosphere is the same as ours at 50 miles. I said, okay, that sounds kind of bad. So I went to find out how high a helicopter can hover. A helicopter cannot hover more than 10,000 to 10,500 feet. That's the most they can hover. They can fly higher, but they cannot hover. Hence why they can't land on Mount Everest, because they can't land because it can't hover. So that's as high as a helicopter can do. And so I started looking at Project Manhigh, Felix Baumgartner, and all these guys. And I'm saying, well, when does a parachute open up? I started looking into all this stuff, and I'm looking at parachutes. Parachutes, basically at any height, the highest anyone's claimed is 18,000 feet. And that's shady if it ever did. There's not enough air for a parachute to open up to around 13,000 feet. Even when Felix Baumgartner jumped, his parachute didn't open till 8,000 feet. And so the air is just too thin. So those people saying they're flying past 60,000 feet is BS. Even the SR-71.
So even the 71, you think? Because the SR-71, Harmon, they claim 80, 90,000 feet.
78,000.
So you're basically saying that rocket propulsion would be impossible with such a thin atmosphere. Is that correct?
What's it going to push off of? Exactly. Yeah. Same argument they have with space. There's nothing to push off of. And then I had
also to lift. I mean, you need air particles for the Bernoulli effect, which is the principle of lift.
Okay, you have to have lift to lift and to lift off.
Right.
Okay,
You have
so
to
I'm
have
asking.
air. You have to have a medium to lift off of. Correct.
This guy was 64 years old, same as me. I was talking to him. He owned a Learjet, and he's hearing me talking. And I'm asking like this, and he started getting interested. And I said, "Well, how high do you go?" I said, "I don't think anything can fly above 50,000 feet." He says, "I flew my Learjet 51,000 feet all the time." I said, "Really? Did you?" And then he pulls up Google and looks at it, and he reads what he did in his manual. The manual said, "Oh, you can fly up to 51." He says, "I never flew higher than 41," is what he looked it up. So he never went more than 41,000 feet. I said, "See?" And then I said, he says, "Well, when we get up a certain height, we glide and we get better fuel." I said, "Don't you have to have air to lift?" He goes, "What?" He didn't even think. This guy owns his own Learjet. And he didn't even think that he needed lift. I go, "Well, what's holding you up? What's flying? Where's your lift?" He goes, and it just light went off in his head. It blew him away, because you need the lift, just like you said. So what's going to make a rocket go past 50,000 feet? That's why the only thing that has gone that high is a balloon.
Right.
And that we can show that, we can see that. Project Manhide, I got into that. And what got me is the whole thing started with the Mars thing, with the Mars helicopter. I said, there's no way, because a helicopter in the world cannot hover above 10,500 feet. Now, I like it that Dave's using some of this stuff now. I've talked to him about before, on call-ins just like this, people pick it up, but that's true. I was calling it out. That's why you can't land on Mount Everest, just like you said, Z.
Well, this is simple physics, and that's the insidious nature of the deception, because the lies contradict all known laws of physics, plain and simple. I tell people, you don't live on a globe because the globe is impossible based off all known laws of physics. It begins and ends there. This is a very simple concept. It's the lie that's complicated. That's what it is. What do you think they're doing, Harmon, with these Blue Origins sending up supposedly Shatner and all these other people? What's going on with that?
I don't know. It's a television show. I don't know, reality show.
Yes, that's why.
That's it. And RT saying here the jets can fly 65,000 feet. I've never seen one. I know he says it in the manuals, and they said it like that. And I was in the Air Force for 9 years, and I questioned, and I did everything else. And I mean, he says 65,000 feet here. I say no.
Yeah, this is interesting. This idea of the ceiling of aviation and how high we can actually go. The other thing is these balloon, whatever you want to call them, these balloon excursions. This isn't new. The first one was almost 100 years ago, 1931. The guy's name was Picard.
Yeah, Picard, Auguste Picard.
And he was some kind of physicist or something, man. And Harmon, he went up there with no mechanical augmentation, like in the freezing weather. He just went up there, and he was able to look out. And guess what? He didn't see a fucking curvature at all. He said it was flat.
Did you know he also toured the United States? He went to universities and showed his stuff and everything like that. But that's very hard to find that information.
Well, good point, because how come you and I know who he is, but nobody else does? Meaning to say, why isn't he taught in books, right? Like, this guy is the first guy to go up, like you said, like 24 miles or whatever it was, 128,000 feet or whatever it is. You think this guy would be well known, but yet they teach it. A moron like Einstein, who was a theoretical physicist. What do you think about Einstein and the general relativity, Einstein's theory of general relativity? What do you think about that whole presentation?
I think him is the same as that guy that was in the wheelchair. I think he's no different than him.
Yep.
I think he was just a puppet, just saying what he was told to say.
All right, so you just think it's completely bullshit. Like, here's my take on like an Einstein or like you said, a Stephen Hawking.
Yeah,
they might actually think that they are who they are. Like, they might not be in on it, right? Maybe they just might be promoted by the system, just a fucking hack, just like YouTube promotes these hacks on here. What's history going to remember of this time? They're going to remember the popular figures. They're not going to remember, they're not going to remember the people that were, let's say, hidden. I think I would agree. I think Einstein's is a complete puppet of the system. People hold Einstein up as this genius. It's a complete joke. I tell people all the time, because people love to talk about quantum physics, and they want to talk about, and I say, look, Einstein was the father of quantum physics. Even if he himself was not proposing quantum theory, it basically was based off of his work and later taken by the theoretical physicist. And Harmon, I think it's complete bullshit. I think the whole subatomic world is complete bullshit because I think it's based off the same understandings of the standard theory of physics. I think the micro world is just as made up as the macro world.
That's what I've been saying
your
forever.
Thoughts, your thoughts on the micro? Go ahead.
Yeah, I said that when I called in to Dr. Andrew Kaufman back in 2020, and he was talking about his germ theory and terrain theory. And I said, dude, I only heard 10 minutes of it. And I called him in and I said, hey, that's the exact same thing. Yours says your unseen microscopic world is no different than the outer space world. It's the same story, just reversed. It's the exact same story, same CGIs and same hocus pocus garbage. And it's 100% the same.
People don't understand that. I was going to do a presentation the other day in this channel regarding the periodic table, because the periodic table was codified and presented in basically the mid 1800s, right? Many decades before the this so-called discovery of the atom and the subatomic world, the electrons and protons. My point is this: the way elements function, the way they bind, the way they form molecular chains and ionic compounds, these are observable, these are demonstrable. So they do appear to function on the principles of electricity and electromagnetism. Ionization appears to be a reality. But where they get into the fantasy world is, again, with the supposed electron. And they talk about the electron shells and electron clouds. This is complete nonsense. There's no evidence for this, yet it's widely accepted throughout academia as fact. It's so amazing how they pass these things off as de facto reality when they're merely just theories. At best, they're theories. At most, they're deceptions.
They're just not even theories. They're just imagination, someone getting paid to say stuff. It's just as phony as the PCR test and stuff like that. It's just as bad. It's just 100% made up, just like our closest star. What's our closest star to us next to the sun? It's called Proximensys or something like that. Proximus. What's it called?
Proxima Centauri.
Yeah, Proxima Centauri. It's 4 light years away, which is 28 trillion miles. So it's just as much as a story as what you're just saying, Z. I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, Harmon, it's great talking to
you.
you. Come back and talk to us soon.
All right, you take care.
That's Harmon, everybody. First time on Z Show. Morgan, give us a Morgan update before I get to the news. Morgan, what's going on? Give us a few words for the audience.
Yes, indeed. And it's like, all right. And it's like,
go ahead. You got a riff for us, and then we're going to get to the news next.
Love is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I shall not be moved. No, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. How about that?
Morgan, much love, Morgan. Check him out at Isabella Live 2.0.
Yeah.
Much love, Morgan. It'd be nice, everybody. Nice stuff. A nice show, a nice conversation, high level. Most people, like normies, would have no fucking clue, like how, like the level of information that was just disseminated on the show. No clue. Too bad. You're all missing out, not me. It's you. Too bad for you. Maybe you'll catch up. Probably not, everybody. Yeah, no clue. No fucking clue. It's all right. I'm going to still come here and do this. I don't care. I'm going to still keep going, doing my thing. But anyway, let's get to the damn news. Let's read this fucking fake news. Hold on. Let me get my music up here. Where is it? All right, everybody. It's time for the news. The news at hyperspeed. I had it on hyperspeed from the Smith W. Coming at ya. In today's top story, fierce Pineapple Express storms begin battering California. California pummeled by first of back-to-back atmospheric rivers as Pineapple Express sweeps the state. Heavy rain flooded California roadways, and much-needed snow piled up in the mountains as the first of back-to-back atmospheric rivers pummeled the state Thursday. So again, these terms that they just throw at us out of nowhere, atmospheric rivers. It's kind of like the first time I heard the term polar vortex, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. What's with polar vortex? Now they're going to give me atmospheric rivers. Why not just call weather patterns what they are? Why invent new things? It's kind of crazy. But again, I'm sure if I read long enough, they're going to try to link this to climate change, global warming, etc., etc. If I'm going to give my honest take on the whole global warming thing, quote unquote global, here's what I'll say. The weather seems to have changed over the course of my lifetime. I don't doubt that. You know, the winters were different where I live. The summers were different. But who's to say that this really is from human effects or man-made? There's no proof of that. Much like many of the things we talked about tonight, the mainstream is just going to tell you over and over and over that it's your fault, and they're going to present you with a particular narrative. But I'll say, where's the evidence? They say we're increasing our production of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, but I retort, well, don't we live in a world that seems to balance itself, keep a particular homeostasis or a balance? We have great algae plumes in the sea, and the supposed rainforest that thrive off of carbon dioxide. You'd think in the enclosed ecosystem that we seem to live in that any increase in production of these so-called greenhouse gases would be balanced out by an increased growth in the plant world. These things seem intuitive to me. So much like everything, I'm not buying the whole global warming presentation. Am I going to rule it out? No, I won't rule it out. I'm not dogmatic in that particular domain. But much like most things, I'm not buying it. Not even a little bit. From ABC News, this could be the shortest presidential primary ever. New York Yankees great Yogi Berra purportedly once said, "It ain't over till it's over." That's an outcome. That an outcome isn't final until its competition's participants have played out the entire contest. But when it comes to the 2024 Republican presidential nomination race, the end of the road looks to be nearing. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has vowed to carry her challenge against former President Donald Trump to her home state of South Carolina, which votes on February 24th. Yet her prospects there look poor. Trump leads Haley by more than 30 percentage points in the South Carolina polling average. A Trump victory of that magnitude would make it difficult for Haley to continue garnering the financial support needed to keep campaigning. All right. So it's obviously going to be Trump as long as things remain unaltered. Who knows what they're doing with their politic theater that they're putting on for us, why they're playing it out. I guess at this point, it seems to be an accomplished fate. Z thinks that Donald Trump will be installed as the next president of these United States. I don't think that is a really wild call on my behalf. It kind of seems like that's the direction we're going. But here we go again, the pendulum swing that is the puppet show called American politics. The wild swing from right to left. Well, I guess it's only wild in their presentation. From my perspective, they're basically both the same thing. Tastes great, less filling. Hey, whatever you want. They're just giving us the theater we all need. I'm not buying any of it. Am I going to vote for any of these clowns? No. From the Washington Post, how the deal that made Musk the world's richest person could unravel. Elon Musk's $56 billion pay package from Tesla, termed an unfathomable sum by the Delaware judge who tossed it out on Tuesday, was the cornerstone of Musk's meteoric rise from esoteric CEO to world's richest person, fueling audacious bets to explore the cosmos, digitize the human brain, and acquire Twitter's de facto town square. Now he may have to give it back. It's like I always say, and here they are putting it right in black and white. Fueling audacious bets to explore the cosmos, digitize the human brain, that's the Neuralink, and acquire Twitter's de facto town square. The presentation with this guy is insane. I was unaware that they were categorizing him as the world's richest person. Is anybody really buying that? Have you ever checked out the Al Saud family or some of these Dubai sheiks? Let's really get real, people. How about the elite bloodline banking families that have been ruling for hundreds, if not thousands of years? Is Elon Musk, this guy out of nowhere, this doofus, really the world's richest person? Well, I guess not now, because they're challenging his $56 billion pay package from Tesla. How is Tesla making any money? Let's really try to use our logic, critical thought, and reasoning skills. There's no way Tesla's turning a profit. A company like that's not going to turn a profit for years and years and years, if ever. The return on an investment with this technology would be impossible this soon. Sorry, Z's not buying it. I'd take that $56 billion back anyway. What a particular clown show. Legal experts say Musk likely will be forced to return at least some of the stock options he secured as part of his 2018 pay package, an award that was and remains unparalleled in scope. Frankly, I don't know how the populace is still buying this whole Elon Musk presentation. It just goes to show people will believe anything that the mainstream news presents them. Unbelievable. In other news, Washington faces first outbreak of a deadly fungus infection that's on the rise in the U.S. 4 people in Washington state have tested positive this month for a rare fungal infection that can be deadly. It's the state's first known outbreak of the fungus called Candida auris, according to Seattle and King County health officials, though one locally acquired case was detected there in July. The cluster comes as Candida auris continues to spread in the U.S. Case numbers have risen every year since 2016. The pathogen is resistant to some common antifungal medications, and it tends to infect people with weakened immune systems. It's often detected among hospital patients who use catheters, breathing tubes, and feeding tubes. Right. So like many of these opportunistic pathological infections, you find that they are most problematic among the ones with the weakened immune systems. Well, what do we have when we look at this current society? We have a bunch of people living unnatural, healthy lifestyles. We see jobs that keep us in a 9-to-5 behind work desks in unnatural, closed environments. We see unnatural foods being propagated amongst society writ large. GMOs, chemical-laden foods, packaged foods, preservatives. Of course, we have people with weakened immune systems. You know, this idea that we grow old and sick does not seem to be ubiquitous amongst human history. You used to live a life and then get sick and die. Now, people can argue on the different lifespans throughout the ages. They will present a story to us that humans are living longer due to the miracles of modern society. Well, your old pal Z's really not seeing that. If I had to take a guess, people probably were much healthier in the past. Again, more of the inverted presentation that this world loves to present. All right, everybody, and that'll do it for the news. Much love, y'all. Thursday, February 1st. We're into February. Who's still with us? Special K's here. K, Special K, how do you like these evening shows as compared to the early shows? Is this working in your schedule? What say you, young lady? I'm trying to get a take on how people are reacting to the time change. On Indoctrination, I just said Elon loves dick on his face. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Elon's a joke, guys. Complete joke. Total clown. D'Angelo says, Z, no news, music. Oh, you guys didn't hear the music? Oh, really? You guys weren't hearing that? Let me know in the chat if you didn't hear the music. Well, that's weird. Hard Hat says, I like the evening shows. Why was my music not playing? Oh, I know why. Thank you, Steve. Well, at least you had my voice. Oh, that must have sounded weird. That's because I left the studio in the middle of the show. Thanks, guys. Thanks for pointing it out. Nuba says, Atetic, have you ever thought about doing the news after the intro? It would give a chance for the panel to talk about the headlines in your show. I thought about it, Nuba, but I think I want to keep it at the end, only because I don't want to talk about the news during the show. If anything, like you notice after my intro, now I go into like a segment, like we talked about the black nobility, and I would like potentially that to kind of spring into more of the panel conversation. No, but the news is like the wind down of the show. It's for the people who still want to, you know, be engaged, to kind of wind down and, lets people kind of move on. So I'm going to keep it at the end. But I kind of had that thought, you know. Special Case says, I would like to hear Canon in D if you can. I actually have Canon in D in my music. That's funny. Thanks, Hard Hat. Said great show tonight. I appreciate it. The drama seems to draw more than numbers, you know. Like I always have like a steady amount of numbers. My numbers have gone up slightly since I've moved it to the evening. But you see more eyes on the show when the panels like going at each other. But I do enjoy that element sometimes. But I'm not going to turn my show into like a crazy thing like that. You know, I like the way tonight was. Like I said earlier, like many people won't understand the stuff we talked about on here tonight. Like, appreciate that, D'Angelo. Appreciate it. Solver Mist says I'm more awake this time slot. Wow, that's even working for you, Solver Mist. Right, because my show for you previously, you're like 15 hours ahead of me. Right, so it was a late night for you when I was going on previously, dude, was in the middle of the night. Oh, wow. Anyway, that's enough. Smith W's here. Smith says I fucking hacked his work up. Smith, don't make me go again to the things that you hit. Smith. Solverman says noon, opposite. Right. When I stream now, it's like noon for you when I start. Which makes sense. So that works. Smith, don't make me read. I went through and I charted your fucking whole... Never mind. Much love, Smith. Talk to me later. All right, everybody. That'll do it for Z's show. Take care of yourselves. Peace.